Where were we? Civitai. Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Creative Exploration with Pers. And tonight I am joined with my friends, Machine Delusions, aka Phil, and Binx. I'm going to let them both introduce themselves because I'll do a terrible job. So let's start with you, Phil. You've already been on the show before, but let's remind the people who you are.
Yeah, simply put, my name is Phil, Machine Delusions. Been in the AI space for about 3 years now. I work professionally in the space. Eager to learn, love the tech. Every day is a Christmas morning in this industry. It's unbelievable. And yeah, tons of experience in model training, building nodes in ComfyUI, building tons of workflows. And yeah, excited to share it all with you guys.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And Binx, tell the people who you are because you have been at this a while.
I have been doing that. I know a lot of people in the space. A lot of people are familiar with me, but my name's Binx. 4 or 5 years doing Gen AI shenanigans. It's kind of all blew up while I was in college, and I've just been experimenting with it ever since. And with the power of the internet and Discord communities, I am so grateful, eternally blessed to be in these communities with people like Phil, Pers, and a ton of people in our Discord server, just researching, sharing information, playing with models, training, reading research papers. And yeah, like Phil said, every day feels like Christmas. More and more things continue to happen and build on itself. And the space is really just incredible. So I'm having a lot of fun training models, making things, and experimenting with everyone else in our community.
Yeah, and you started with Disco, right?
I started with this old repository that was it was called like Big Sleep or something. It was some early clip GAN thing that looked really bad, but I was fascinated by it, and I would put like a bunch of books that I was reading. I would just feed it to it and see what happened.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. So like early, as the children say, before Midjourney.
Yeah, way before Midjourney. Yeah.
Way before Midjourney. Right on. That's awesome. And yeah, so the reason I brought you guys here tonight was because I haven't actually done this myself, but everyone I've been talking to is really excited about Flux LoRA training. Just like I've been using LoRAs, but I haven't trained any of my own. So I'm excited to see what you guys have been up to, and we're all excited to sort of try to get our head around some of the parameters and some of the stuff. I said in the description, how much does it cost? How long does it take? What does a data set look like? What is model training? Like maybe we can just do a bird's eye overview of how checkpoints and LoRAs interact, because I think that's one of those things that could be demystified by you guys a little better than, because people feel like it's just a magic box full of images, which it kind of is, but not really. So yeah, maybe we can talk about that stuff and then talk about how to fine tune Flux into what you want, and then how to merge that stuff together into basically traversing the latent space to find the style that you're actually looking for, as opposed to just rolling the dice and getting what you get. So let's I don't know who wants to talk about how models work. Phil, I know you've been going deep in this stuff lately.
Phil, you've been going crazy with this lately.
Oh no. Okay, wait.
This is my TED Talk. Welcome.
Yeah, right.
Welcome to the TED Talk.
We can come back if you wanna think about it for a minute. We can talk about some other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
No, I think I can dive into this.
Sick.
So I suppose we should talk about what is actually happening with diffusion models. And without going too ridiculous in the weeds, the idea is we have image data and we have textual data that describes or is supposed to be paired with that image representation of the data. And we are attempting to train a network to understand the correlation of those two pieces. And there's a lot of moving parts in that whole sentence, a ton of moving parts. But that's the base idea of a model. Now, like, what does it mean to like train a model? Well, basically, with our data, we are algorithmically adding noise and essentially calculating a tensor representation. And a tensor is just a number representation of your picture. That's all it is. It's like, here's my picture, and here's an array or a matrix of numbers that represent something about it. And so when we're training a model, we're essentially dialing those numbers, those representations of the image data, close or exactly on the pattern that it finds within the information. And so like the model itself is looking for the pattern between the words you're giving it and the picture, but also like what pieces of the picture are corresponding to what piece of text, and so on and so forth. Like I said, there's a lot more moving parts deeper at a lower level with everything I'm saying here. And so when we're training a model, we're trying to align that curve, that pattern that this model is trying to find within your information. And when it does, it converges, and what you get is a trained style. And let's talk about the learning rate for a second.
Yeah.
The learning rate is a float value, right? It's just like 0.0001 or something, right?
Yeah.
And when you're tweaking that, what you're actually doing is tweaking the decimal place of how much that number representation changes per training step, basically, or epoch. I can't remember which one it is, but that's the idea. Is if my learning rate is high, then every time it cycles through my data in a training loop, it moves those numbers more aggressively.
Corrects itself harder.
Exactly, yeah. And so the art of training a model, or what training a model really means, is like very simply, if you had a sine wave like this,
Mm-hmm.
and you had like a bunch of points that represented your data, your information,
Mm-hmm.
you are trying to get the model, and I'm going to draw it in a different color. I'll draw it in like black or something. You're trying to get the model to closely represent those points in some sort of like fixated pattern. And so the blue line was our initial sine wave, and this black line represents the points that the model is trying to converge to. So when the learning rate is actually doing its thing, it's fitting this line more aggressively, or it's moving the numbers of this graph more aggressively towards your points of data. And now, all that being said, this is a grossly simplified version of what stable diffusion is. This is happening on a magnitude in the millions and billions, basically.
Right.
And it's not just
like of parameters, like potential connections,
exactly.
and dimensions, and
exactly
the amount of calculations being performed. Yeah, it's huge. It's a lot of numbers, but I mean, it's all ultimately kind of doing the same thing, and that's just fitting a line to data. It's finding correlations between, in this case, with stable images and captions, and it's making those correlations. With every word, it's finding features in those images that it can use to try to identify uniquely those images that contain whatever concept you're trying to train in. In the case of styles, you have a lot of flexibility because, I mean, you can just label anything as anything, really, and the model will just think that that's what you say it is. Right. So if you're going for abstract stylistic things, you don't really have to worry too much about it.
Yeah, I've seen that where you can, train 100 images of a dog, but if you call it a cat, every time you ask for a cat from that resulting model, it's going to spit out the dog that was trained as cat.
Correctly.
Yeah.
So it's smart, but it's only as smart as its input data, right?
Yeah, the model's only ever as good as the input data for sure.
And then that's like a interesting point you brought up there, because that's exactly why these models like Flux that we're going to be playing with today is so much better at prompt coherence, is because the way we captioned it is so much more robust than other models in the past have been captioned. And specifically how you caption it, not so much of like the quantity, but also like the quality and the methodology of what you actually get the network to learn. In comparison to something like SD15, where it was like you could get away with just saying like, I want a subject in a place, and this is like the style I want, and it would like totally do it, right? Because that's basically how it was captioned, to the extent, right?
Mm-hmm.
But fast forward to these new models, and they're captioned, that the training information is captioned with LLMs. And so with that in mind, like, not only are the captions more robust, but they're more intelligent. And every time you teach the network a word, or every word that you teach it, you're essentially peeling back the picture or the concept or whatever you want, like layer by layer.
Mm-hmm. And then it's able
And
to find all the connections between that stuff.
sure, like being able to call specific lighting or specific camera movements, or like clothing types, or eye position, or in Flux's case, like, man, the thing can write paragraphs. Like, that's crazy,
Yeah,
in
I know.
pictures.
The text is absolutely wild. So how does Flux differ then from like SD3? Because SD3 also used a dual clip situation, right? Where better captioning. Did they just do less great job, or is it like a slightly different architecture? Do you guys even know what SD3?
I don't think the technical paper on Flux has been released yet, has it?
Mm.
Or if it has, like, it's just been in like, people releasing or saying go read the diffusion transformer paper. Essentially, has there been a technical report on Flux?
I actually haven't fully looked into it, to be completely honest.
I've been too busy training Flux to
Yeah, there's
to go read it.
That's
so
funny.
much. But like, very quickly and simply put, I think it's a little bit of both. I think Flux, like, architecturally is pretty well the same. I think they're doing some other tricks, but don't quote me on that. I haven't read the paper.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I just think like the general quality of how it was approached and whatnot. Like, I mean, the Black Forest Labs crew, from what I've heard, is legendary and very seasoned at doing exactly this.
Mm. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I'm blown away. The results speak for themselves, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
I've been using Flux pretty much nonstop since it came out. It is, yeah, it's super fun. And now just to have this trainability and stuff. And I mean, I was going to talk about this a little bit because it came out with the IP adapters, but they're not really worth talking about yet. I don't know if you guys have used them, but I tried them out. They're a little undertrained, I think, so far, or at least, we don't know how they work yet. But right now we got LoRAs, so that's what we're going to focus on. All right, I am going to try to add the chat to the screen here.
Nice.
But I don't think it's going to work. So let's
do that
after. Why don't we slide over, and if you guys want to show off some of your Flux LoRAs, and we can talk about sort of.
Yeah. Binx, you want to? I mean, Binx has already got stuff up on the screen. I can see it. It's
I
crazy.
have like some Hellraiser stuff going on right
Beautiful.
now. I don't know.
All right, let's pull it up.
This is two of my LoRAs getting merged together at the moment on top of Flux at FP8 weights. I'm also using the FP8 T5 XXL so that I can use my webcam and stream my screen while I use Flux. because
Nice.
otherwise I run into issues.
Yeah,
But
same.
yeah, I've been kind of in this pocket recently, with merging at least. At the moment, I have
That
I've
looks so
only
cool.
had these trained up. I don't know how many that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11-ish. I've deleted it a lot, especially because the training repo when it first came out, there was a major update. With what was it? There was a major update with Comfy that fixed the LoRAs being applied to FP8 weight Flux, and then there was a major update for the training repo that fixed something to do with the noise.
Yeah, I think it was stochastic rounding or something.
Okay, like the noise estimation.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, that got fixed. And so I had already trained a couple days worth of LoRAs and just decided to delete all of them and start from scratch. So here I am. And for those who don't know, my workflow that I'm using right now is available on my Twitter page.
Nice.
It's the same exact one. I've just kind of prettied it up a bit since I posted it. But it's more or less just using image to image for prompting through GPT-4. And I'm just putting images from my output folder into a load image node, having GPT-4 make a prompt for me, and then I'm running it through my models and seeing how it performs.
That's awesome. I do something similar with Florence and the cog fine tune, but it's kind of nice to have it completely off your computer.
Yeah.
Just spend those API credits. YOLO.
Yeah, it's pretty affordable. I think it's like 15 cents per 1,000 tokens.
Right.
And like the GPT node that I've got running is my own, but the max tokens are only set to 256.
Right.
And so it's like it's like fractions of a cent to run this thing.
That's cool. But yeah, man, this looks great. So what did you is this a LoRa you trained?
Yeah, these are all LoRAs I've trained.
Oh, so you're merging them here too?
Yeah, I'm merging them right now, just 2 at a time.
That's
I'm
super
trying to find a
cool.
pocket I can sit with a couple of them, and then I'll add the third one and see, where that kind of goes. Usually, at most, I think like 4 or 5 LoRAs is generally where I top off.
Right. After a while, it becomes
so
soup,
heavily
right?
stylized. Yeah, it gets kind of messy after a while.
So, can you talk about what what goes into one of these? Like, how many images would you use? What type of images? Quality, all that kind of stuff. Because I think people are just curious, like how to because building a data set even to me sounds scary, but I know for you guys, you just slap them together and start training. So, how do these people get there? How do we get there?
At the moment with Flux, I mean, I'm getting a bunch of high quality images together, especially with Flux, with how large this model is and how capable it is. Any small errors in the training data are going to be represented through inferencing. So
yeah, I've noticed that. Like
any of the old I've tried to
JPEG artifacts and stuff really come through.
Exactly. Yeah. I've had a lot of any of the synthetic data from my SD15 models that I'm trying to use for styles. I have to be very careful about anatomy that's getting trained in, because if there are any messed up hands are guaranteed going to be messed up in this model. Same with some weird facial artifacts and the way that Stable 1.5 kind of made faces in a way.
Interesting.
That all gets reflected. So you have to be very picky choosy and get a high quality set together. I'm shooting for right around, with Flux, 25 to, I've trained 10,000 images, but you don't need that. 25 images to 50 images would probably do well. And all of my captions, I've just been using GPT-4o Mini to caption, thanks to Phil's nodes. ComfyUI. Just load up a folder and let it rip, and it will caption as many as you set at a time.
We'll have Phil show everybody his notes later, because they're all the stuff is tuned to do this stuff. So if you you build out your little workflows, he's pretty much covered all the bases for you. You just kind of have to learn how to use them.
Plug them together, basically.
Yeah, plug it together and get to work. So you're saying 25 to 50 images. Make sure you get rid of any images that have goo in them, bad stuff, bad artifacting. JPEG noise, stuff like that. That sounds perfect. And then another thing I was thinking was, because it learns all that stuff, is it possible then to get like 25 pictures of the ideal VHS grain glitch stuff and like train that? Like, will it pick it up in a good way, or will it just become bad data and like make everything look worse, do you think? Like,
No, I mean,
it's hard
there's
to
only
say,
one
right?
way to tell,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Yeah, we'll
And
have
that's
to
to do
train
it.
them.
So
Well,
that's like you can never really know how data is going to be represented. You get a feel for whether or not something will work eventually, but I've been surprised many times. You know, it's just you just gotta do it and see.
I just realized I showed Phil's screen the entire time Binx was talking, so
oh my
I'm gonna switch
God.
back over to Binx now, and Binx can show
Jesus.
you what he was talking about. Because even though this is episode 78, I'm still terrible.
No,
Hey
that's
man,
fine.
it happens.
All right.
But yeah, no, data sets, seriously, nothing super spectacular. If you have a consistent style that you maybe ran a bunch of Midjourney images through at a certain sref, or you have a bunch of stable 1.5 images that look kind of the same, just throw them into a folder, get GPT-4o Mini to provide you captions with all of them, and then just train it. That's it. Just Python run.py and see what happens.
Right on.
You don't
Yeah.
want to like dive in too hard and start adjusting a bunch of parameters and settings you don't understand. That's an easy way to train and not have good results. I think by default, most training repos will do fine out of the gate. And it's good to just download it, get something going, and whether or not it's good, who cares? Just have it done, see how it performed, and then go in and adjust settings after you've done some reading during the hour it took to train or something, you know?
Yeah, right on. Yeah, that's it's, you know, that's the same with anything in AI, is like you should really start with whatever default settings people have before you start changing stuff, because sometimes changing a value, even one number, can break everything.
Yep.
And sometimes you don't understand the scale of the numbers you're changing. Sometimes 0.01 is all the difference in the world.
Yeah, 0.01 is still, you know, that can be a lot.
Like 0.1 to 0.01 is, you know, can be as big of a difference as 1,000,000 to 100 if it's, you know, depending on what it does. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
always good
absolutely.
to just like try with default settings and then adjust stuff just a little bit and adjust one thing at a time.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
you won't know
The whole
what it
thing is
does if you
all
change two things,
incremental
right?
process, right? You have to like slowly adjust things because otherwise you'll just overshoot. And sometimes that's good, but most of the time it just causes you to kind of waste time doing something that doesn't really work.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, right on. So someone in the chat asked if we can see one of your data sets. Do you have one that you can just show like the folder in like extra large
Yeah.
icons or something?
Sure,
Phil
yeah.
probably has some.
Phil,
Yeah.
sure. Let's switch over there.
Since I'm sharing my browser window.
Right on.
Yeah, fair enough.
All right, we're on you now, Phil.
Let me see.
Hi, fellows. I'm ready to
Alright.
flux. Those nodes look familiar. This is a gorgeous workflow. Can you show your data sets? Yeah. I'm feeling tenser
yes.
every minute, says Bill.
Yeah, let's do one of these. So, okay. So
Puns.
here's you know, we talked about like kind of like how to go about training, but a lot of people are like, where do I find the data? What do I want to train in? There's all these questions, right? And my answer to that is like the model will learn whatever you give it. And so it's not necessarily about how the model performs by itself, but once you start stacking models, you get really, really insane results. And so this is an example of some of the data that I have created specifically to train.
Mm-hmm.
There we go.
Nice.
And so like you can start to see quite clearly like what I'm trying to get the network to learn. And the idea is basically give it enough things in a specific ballpark of each other, and it will start to just converge on those things, right? Subject, aesthetic. Yeah, simply put, it's going to learn whatever you give it. And so for me, it was these like creepy 2-dimensional kind of like, yeah, flat vector style. And I used my previous models to make this artwork to train in. You don't have to go that route. Honestly, it's pretty much the Wild West. Like, go collect a data set, make sure it's upscaled. And that's another thing too, is each of these images is sitting at 2K. So this is 2K by 1800.
So you're
Yeah,
training at 2K? You're training
2256.
Flux LoRAs at 2K, essentially?
No, that
It
like
gets
not
resized.
necessarily.
The training
Yeah.
repo resizes the images,
Yeah,
but
but you're
having
starting at
higher res
2K and then
images are
having it
better.
downscaled. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the idea is like when you go to find or make a data set, get or generate or upscale the most ideal resolution.
Mhm.
Because stopping at the resolution you need will never be as good as going past it and bringing it back down, kind of thing.
That's cool.
And especially if you're generating them, right? Like, push those images up to that like 2 to 3K range. Like, I would say 1536 if you want to be, if you don't have the VRAM or such.
Mm.
But
And
it
you can do
makes
all
a
this in
long-
Comfy too, right? You don't have to
Of course.
like
Yeah.
use Gigapixel or Magnifique or anything. You can these are just straight up upscales, like you can do right in Comfy. So
Yeah,
Yep,
all the
yep.
resize stuff, all the data set preparation, you can all of it. You can do in Comfy. Yeah.
And
Awesome.
so let me just scan really quick to make sure that there's no things that you don't want per.
Thank you. But yeah, I was going to say this is a great way of creating a really extremely diverse data set that still all lives within the same stylistic world. So like, I
Yes.
really like your process of building LoRAs, making stuff from those LoRAs, then smashing that stuff together to make new LoRAs. Like, it's cool
Right.
because like we always, back in the 80s and cassettes and stuff, we used to talk about generation loss all the time. Making a copy of a copy of a copy is always worse. But in this case, it's almost not, you're not making copies, you're almost distilling. Like, it's like you're just getting the particulate out, all the stuff you don't want. You're kind of just filtering it down over time. It's
Yeah.
a very interesting process that you can kind of keep training on your generations. Whereas before, if you just kept making copies, it would get worse.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, it will always change, right? And so this data set that I have up on my screen right now,
Mm-hmm.
in order for me to even produce this data, it took me like probably 5 or 10 different models that I trained.
Yeah.
And I, dialed it here and I merged it there. And then I used these LoRAs. And then maybe all of that was merged into a model. And then like one day I made a new LoRA and used it on that model. And like just this like massive, just cannibalistic moving forward art piece.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah,
I thought AI
remains.
was just typing words into websites, though.
Oh man, that would be boring. I would have quit
Sure,
this game a
yeah.
long time ago.
I think that training technique that we've kind of stuck with for, since disco days, since SD15 was going crazy and the training scripts were released. I think that whole creating the interesting things to train into the model, to then continue training models and then merging all of them together and then using that to train more and then merging, and it grows with you over time. And I can't recreate anything I was making a year ago.
No
It's
way.
all gone. And
It's
what I'm
ephemeral,
doing now
yeah.
is a result of like many, probably dozens or hundreds at this point, of model merges, models trained.
That's awesome.
It's this, like Phil said, it's just this Ouroboros, this beast that you're just continually prodding.
But it's cool because you're just building your own unique footprint, your own world. For like, I like creating systems that create art. Like, that is so interesting to me. That's why I like gen art. That's why I like this stuff. you just dial in that make the box, and the box will always generate the thing, and the thing will always be beautiful. It's so cool when you get everything just right. And this is almost like just a massive multi-dimensional extrapolation of that process. So, yeah, I love it, and I love that you guys have that passion. It's so cool. And there's so many people that do this and they don't talk about it. Like, you know, like if you look at some of the top LoRa trainers on Civit, they're silent, but they're just banging stuff out like constantly.
Yeah, exactly.
There are people like that in our Discord server,
Yeah.
man. I tell people about them all the time. I'm like, dude, you should see some of
I know.
these guys.
So
The
then
things
they're
they
just-
post are just incredible, but they just don't want to share it like that.
Keep it
They're
hush,
just like,
baby.
yeah,
Yeah.
they'll just throw some heat in a small Discord community, and it's like, man, you're killing it. Yeah, there are a lot of really crazy smart people and people who are really passionate who, don't really have a voice in the community.
Chat says
Yeah.
Phil sure has unique taste, like pineapple on pizza, but for everything else.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like the idea of using this tech, there's like kind of like two paths I see, right? The first one is like it's a tool, right? I
Yeah.
can train a model to be a tool, like do a job, make a product, whatever, however you want to like phrase it, right? And then there's the other end of it where it's like, well, I can use it to make art or express myself or do like something for the sake of exploration. And so a lot of people use it for that, the second one. But what I find a lot of people don't do enough is push the technology to create things that like straight up and simply just don't exist.
Couldn't or
style you've
wouldn't.
never
Yeah,
seen.
couldn't or
Yeah.
wouldn't exist.
Exactly, right? Like,
Absolutely.
and that can take the form of a lot of different things. It could take the form of like mixing mediums, you know, like what would a pencil drawing look like if it was made of like knitting, you know?
Mhm.
And it's like some of these mediums that you're mixing like are just physically impossible to
knitted
even
meat, baby.
visualize.
Knitted meat. You
Yeah,
can't do it in
knitted meat.
you can't do it in real life.
Some of the old
Fuck.
disco prompts, man, like those really abstract prompts, I think are still some of the best at making really amazing and unexpected things. And then you run like 10 of those, boom, you have a data set, go train a LoRa. All right, boom, now we have this style, now we're cooking.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. Literally cooking knitted meat.
Make Believe says, can I look at a model's trained data? Yeah, if you go back a few minutes, Machine Delusions showed his training data for one of the models. So you can see it's just a collection of images all in the same sort of style around, 2K, and it'll downscale into the bucket. So remove all gross, remove all artifacts, pick only images that fit the aesthetic of the thing you're trying to train. Do your thing. So you guys were saying that there's different kinds of Flux LoRAs. Like one of them's like style, and one of them is like person or something. I forget how it works, but you're saying change them all to style anyway, because it's, or was it style, or I know there's a setting I'm forgetting. I'm just
Yeah. I'm actually gonna
like style or content, I believe.
I just want to kind of like confirm that. Where's the config? Oh, here it is, configs. Okay. Yeah. I mean, all that's really happening if you were to change something like that. Actually, I do think he took it out of the repo. That's style.
Oh, really?
And he did. Yeah. It's not popping up in the repo anymore. I thought he took it out a couple of updates ago, but yeah.
And is that option? We should also talk about Civit too.
Yeah, absolutely. Civit's
Actually, maybe we should start with let's start with Civit, because that's so guys, it takes how much? So right now it takes 24 gigs to train this locally, right?
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you do not have a 24 gigabyte GPU and you don't want to spin up a RunPod or Vast instance because you're a little scared of it, Civitai is likely the most cost-effective means of training these Flux LoRAs. So just go to Civit. Well, maybe not. I don't know what you think, Phil.
Well, no, I agree with like 90% of what you said. I think in this case, spinning up like something on RunPod or like a virtual VM, I think it's very easy with AI. Ostris's AI tool repo. It's quite simple to get one spun up. So if you want to touch on that, we probably could.
Yeah, okay. So let's do Civit and then we'll do a quick like how to spin one up, because I know there are a lot of people who are like just doggedly DIY here, and
Yeah,
you
exactly.
know, it's always good to do it. Yeah, and like as long as it's not like insanely hard. But yeah, I know I mean, I spin up vast instances for Comfy all the time, so it's got to be, you know, pretty somewhat similar as long as you prepare your data and get it going. So yeah, let's talk about that too. But yeah, let's start with Civitai. So if you guys want to train your own Flux LoRAs, you can go to civitai.com and get some buzz. I don't know how much buzz do you know how much buzz it costs to do a Flux?
Yeah, it's about 2,000 to like 2,500, I would say.
So yeah, get some buzz, and then and you can actually earn buzz by like just posting stuff and getting likes, and people will donate buzz. You start training stuff, put it on Civit. Like buzz is like a currency that works on Civitai, and so you can buy it, but you can also just get it from being part of the community. So, you know, reach out and talk to people and like their stuff. I think you get little chunks of buzz for even just liking people's posts. So go interact with stuff on Civit. You'll get tons of buzz. But yeah,
Be part of the community.
Yeah, exactly. Just jump in and talk to people, because, you know, everyone feels a little isolated sometimes. It's nice to know there's other people dorking around at the same time.
You also learn the most when you're around people. There's too much to explore. You have to start like cross-referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, absolutely. If you're, I think trying to do this alone would be so scary. It's definitely something, if I was approaching for the first time, hopping into a Discord server, even if it's just whatever it is, any open Discord server with any community of any image generation tool, just go in and start talking to people and, you know, see what people are doing, see what people are up to. It'll inspire the crap out of you, I promise.
Awesome. All right. So yeah, let's say I have a folder of 25 images. They're ready to go. They're all upscaled. Or actually, maybe we should do the nodes first.
Well, maybe what we can do is we can generate a data set on the fly.
Yeah.
Explain the nodes that I'm going to use to make the data set.
Yeah,
And then
you do the demonstration. I'll just sit back and drink coffee.
Dude, I don't want to do that.
Oh,
that sounds like a lot of work, man.
I love it. Show the people your nodes.
Chill time.
I know. I lied.
Yeah, that image is crazy. Yo.
Well, you know what? Quit releasing so much great stuff, and I won't make you show everybody how it works.
Okay.
Why don't you have a demo workflow for your node pack set up?
Oh,
you should have that for your elevator.
You know why, dude?
Bro.
I know. You're right. You're actually so right. There's
should
too
have like
much
a slide
nodes
deck.
now. I know.
Yeah, just every node in one workflow. You just hit it. It does everything.
Yeah, dude. You need a few groups.
Look at my subcategory. It's too many. Look at all these nodes.
I see your subcategories, bro. Oh man, that's all right.
So the node pack we're talking about right now is fill nodes. You guys can go get it out of the manager or on GitHub. It's ComfyUI fill nodes. I'll drop the link in the chat. Yeah, I'll drop the link in the chat. GitHub fill nodes.
Lots of little goodies in there. Honestly, it's like a mix between having fun, kind of like experimental stuff, while also just like a lot of it's utility, you know, filling out the gaps, and like there's so much you can do in Comfy. I'm just, every time I run into like a problem or I'm like, oh, this feels clunky, I just like build a tool to help me.
Here, let's automate it.
No, let's automate it.
Well,
okay,
yeah,
so
basically.
So this is a node that is really simple, and basically it's just a DALL-E image generator.
Okay.
That's basically all this is. Now, why is this useful? Well, even if you don't have a bunch of like cool models or styles, you can find a cool model or a style to train in and have fun with. And DALL-E is an amazing resource to just do that. And so I'm just going to simply put like a preview image here. It uses your environmental variable, your here on your Windows computer. I'm not sure where it is on other OSs, but it uses your like your key and whatnot. And yeah, all you got to do is like prompt something beautiful image of a cow. And this
Are
is
we doing a cow, LoRA?
We're doing a cow LoRA. This is kind of the magic of this node is like the batch size, and so it's going to open up a bunch of HTTP requests, and it's just going to like absolutely crush. Hold on a second. Wait, is it this one? Yeah, get out of here.
Make sure you
Stop.
broadcast your OpenAI key for everybody.
Yeah, make sure you like actually blow that up, like font size 72 on that.
Hold on.
I like that it's a variable. That's smart. I like that it's not just sitting in the node.
Yeah, so you can see here in the corner, it's shooting off the requests, and then we should get back 10 pictures. And so I basically generated pictures at the same time it would take DALL-E to just make one, basically.
Oh, wow.
And so, yeah, there's our 10 pictures, all
Cows.
from DALL-E. They're just, I mean, yeah, those are
You're going to get me
beautiful
rate
images
limited
of
on
cows.
DALL-E now, bro?
Cows.
Yes, so it's one of those things where like you do need an API key or like a subscription to GPT, and you need to go get your API key. But having it in the box is really powerful because then we can start to load this into other nodes and so on and so forth. But okay, let's just like let's pick a style. What do you want to train a LoRA on? We could do anything.
Yeah, I should have thought of something. Let's do 1950s style advertising. Would be a cool thing to mix that with.
1950s style advertising of
of like a modern technology, like
of an iPhone, like an iPhone 15 or like.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
1950s style advertising of retro tech.
Retro future tech?
Yeah, retro future tech. Modern
in a phantom dimension. I'm joking.
Quantum
mechanics. Yeah.
Yeah.
Chat's just shouting out stuff like a improv show. They're like, TV dinners, a cow at the movies.
At the movies.
Movies, get it?
I think Phil secretly hates all of us. He makes all this great stuff and then is like, good luck figuring out how it works.
What do you mean? Because I put no docs or anything?
That's someone in chat.
Syntax says it's his favorite nodes to make noodles with.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot, right? And so I'll just pull up some of the other new ones. What else do I got?
Mr. Wealth wants to know if you guys are cropping your images or if any resolution works when training.
Every resolution does work, but I tend to just stick to a square. That's kind of like,
yeah.
Wow, this is pretty cool, actually. God damn.
If I don't crop square, then they're more than likely 4:5 ratio, like portrait. And that's it. That's all I do.
Those look great. I like those.
Yeah,
those are awesome.
These look super cool. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is
retrofutuism.
Futuism.
We're going to use one of my new save image node that I made today.
Oh,
actually. And
shameless plug. Shameless plug.
Well, you
this
know how
guy,
it be,
man.
You asked.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so I'm just gonna drop this in here. And so this plugin, or this node rather, I added some like JS, so like we can add subdirectories. So I'm just gonna add this and call it like retro iPhone. No, actually, iPhone retro, and we'll add a subfolder. Okay, so and now all the images will be dumped into there. So
cool.
That's dope. and we're just going to like shoot off maybe like, I don't know, 4 or 5
Let's
of
get like 50 images or something.
yeah, like we'll batch this, do it up like 5 times.
Yeah, if you guys want to know what he's doing there, you can hit extra options on the sidebar or on the top bar and increase the number of runs. So once you have something working, if you want to run it like 16 times and go make coffee, you can just change that to 16. Then when you hit play, it's going to queue up 16 runs, and every time you hit play. So if you hit it twice or 3 times, you're going to have 32 or 48 runs. So
yeah, be careful with that.
Yeah, just pay attention.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm probably gonna like make some adjustments to this node. I want to have the seed built in. My seed wasn't randomized, so like we'll just keep
Oh
that.
yeah, right.
Yeah. There we go. So now at this point, we just get to sit back and wait until all this is done. Hopefully, I don't get rate limited.
Let ChatGPT do all the work.
I might.
Yeah,
Get
you've been running that today, right? So.
Nah, like it's usually per minute. You with this kind of crap, you'll get rate limited on the minute before you do on like the day.
I got rate limited with the the multi-threaded captioning for my daily limit.
Wow.
Yeah, but I was like also captioning folders of like 1,000 images or something, so.
Yeah.
It's like, what are you running a business?
Yeah, it was just many folders I kept throwing at it in a line while I was training stuff, and I hit my daily token limit.
It's surprisingly fast, isn't it?
It's really incredibly fast, yeah.
Like once it starts to like ramp up and it's made the connections, it's just like it just chunks of like of text files being like dumped into your folder, and they all have like thick ass paragraphs. It's wild.
That's really cool. Yeah, I haven't played with like API stuff much, like just like interfacing with them in that capacity, but it looks really fun.
Yeah, I mean,
man. It's a lot easier than like it looks. Yeah, for sure. They are like tools in a toolbox.
Yeah.
And they all like share a format. Yeah.
I just have that constant thing where I'm going to be like, do a dumb and then like blow like $20 for the credits in one hit enter. Just like.
You can set like limits.
Yeah.
If you're scared of that, which would be very hard to do. But if you're afraid of that, I would set like a $5 limit on your account and then just go crazy with APIs for a day and
get a feel for it. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Once you start like building with them, it's nothing too.
Yeah, crazy. I want to get into the Claude stuff, the workbook project stuff. That looks really great.
Yeah, man. Those are
deeper gen art stuff I want to do, because I find the context starts to get confused after 4 or 5 iterations, and then you're just sort of like, it's like doing stuff it did like an hour ago. You're like, whoa.
And so like we're done.
That's crazy.
We've rendered what, 50 pictures? How many is in here? Yeah, 50. We got 50 pictures. And
didn't even use your GPU yet.
Beautiful. Yeah, exactly. And so like this is a totally quick and viable way to create a LoRa. And now that probably costed me, I don't know, maybe like 20 to 30 cents, maybe. I don't know.
Oh wow, yeah,
it's hard to tell. It is because I mean, like, I am pinging DALL-E. DALL-E is an incredibly powerful model, like OpenAI. It's like an established business, and yeah, I mean, I'm just showing you a single avenue, right?
Yeah.
This
you can make all this stuff with your own workflows, right? You don't have to
exactly.
Yeah, you don't have to use the API if you don't want to. Like, you can use, like Phil was saying, you use LoRAs you've made before, or use LoRAs you like to like mix 2 styles together and make a data set of that, and then train on that.
Currently, it's looking like about 4 cents per image at 1024 is the average for DALL-E 3 API calls right now.
4 cents an image?
4 cents per image.
Yeah, that's.
But you have to like buy credit packs, right, or something.
I don't know. Like I haven't. I mean So this is $2 basically. It's $2 of data, which is like, in the grand scheme of things, quite expensive. But the base quality that you get for that
Yeah.
data is
Yeah.
pretty friggin' great.
There's not a lot of weird artifacts or junk on those images. They're pretty
Yeah.
pretty clean. I always like
I
the
could
textures
run.
that DALL-E spits out, especially the paper
Yeah,
stuff. It's really
yeah,
good at
it's
dirt
crazy.
and grime.
Yeah, and like here's the thing: once you have the base, you just run it through like SDXL and upscale it, and like you're gold basically.
Yep.
But let's move on to the capturing part. And so
Yeah.
like I'm gonna use 4o, another node that I've made, and how we want to do this. Let's just use yeah, so input directory. So I'm just gonna yoink this, and then batch size, we'll just crank it. Actually, we'll just do 5 at a time. Auto detail is like the precision of GPT Vision.
Okay.
That's, just an API thing. Temperature is classic temperature on LLMs. Basically, higher number means hallucinate and be creative more.
Mhm.
Lower number is constrict the available range of possible outputs to like as factual as the model understands.
You can
Right.
make it the response is more deterministic and less
Yeah.
creative.
So we should just pull back for 1 second. So you have for a functional data set, you have the images, which you've just made. But right now you're making captions, which are the text descriptions of each image that go along with each image so that the model understands what it's looking at, right?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
I just
and
want to cover
and
that
thi-
just in case anybody doesn't understand why you're making these. And like this node will ask GPT about each image and make a caption and then give you a text file with the same name in the folder, basically,
yes,
which is what you need for training.
there are many ways you can do this.
Yeah,
Obviously, right?
you can
Like
even do it by hand if you want.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that would probably more than likely give you a higher quality model in the end. But like it's linear with how much time you're willing to invest in it, right?
Mhm.
So
yeah.
And these LLMs have gotten really good. This and the Florence with the cog fine tune I find is really great. I haven't tried it for captioning LoRAs, obviously, but for what I'm using it for blind IP adapter type situations where I'm just prompting with it, it's amazing. So I'm having a good time with it for sure. And that'll run locally as well. You don't need to spend credits for that. But yeah, again, I haven't captioned anything with it, so I don't know if it's junk for that or not.
So the interesting thing about captioning is like I find out of all variables, I'm just gonna mute those nodes. Out of all variables in the like training or like preparing process, I think captioning is by far the most important thing you can do. And like
even on Flux,
that's man, yeah, 100%. Model training in general, right? The data, you have to like think of the data like your ground truth. And if your ground truth is garbage, the model will never surpass whatever ground truth you give it.
yeah, garbage in, garbage out.
Garbage in, garbage out, simply put. But when it comes to captioning, I think this is where it gets a little more artistic and a little more maybe selective or something like that. But the idea being is, for example, when I look at this picture, it's like, what do I want the model to
understand about it?
Yeah, exactly. What attention do I want to bring through language to get the model to understand and start to peel apart like this image in general. And so how I would caption this would be like, maybe I don't want the actual phone. Maybe I just want the style. And in that case, I would prompt a lot about the subjects in the shot. And so like I might caption this man holding an iPhone, and I would bring zero attention to anything that was stylistic or maybe composition or whatnot. And then what the model will learn is it will learn the concept of the man. because I told it there was a man, and it will understand the concept of holding and an iPhone, and how those words work together in a visual representation.
Hmm.
But because I didn't bring attention to the style or the line art or the background, all of those things, the model will just default to attaching all of those visual pieces of information to the words man holding an iPhone. And so when I go to prompt it and I just say man in a park doing something, it's going to like reach into the network and say like, all right, well, I have all of this associated to man, so I'm just going to pull all of it and generate the picture.
All the visual features of that
Yeah.
image get pulled through.
By being
And
vague.
so
Yeah.
well, by being vague, but
Or
then this is
intentionally
also where
vague, rather.
Yeah, intentionally, like,
vague,
yeah,
yes.
you have to be vague in the right way
That makes
and let the
sense.
model fill in the gaps. And when it makes those connections, that's when you get like, I mean, you have some pretty surprising things happen, especially with like the glitch art data sets. Ghost
Yeah.
just trained a pixel sorting LoRa.
Oh, really?
That
Oh,
looked,
sick.
yeah, man, it looks crazy. Go, yeah,
I
you should
gotta
check
go
out our
check that
Discord
out.
channel when
Yeah.
you get a sec. But yeah, like, oh, and Flux is so good at picking up really fine details and images and representing them as well. The textures on 2K images, you can just blow up on it like 200%. And canvas textures, the texture of clothes and skin, it's all there. It's pretty nuts, pretty wild. So the pixel sort stuff, the glitch art stuff, that looks pretty nice so far.
That's awesome. So yeah, so people in the chat are saying that Civitai also has a on-site auto tagger. Would that be any good for captioning, do you think? Or should you do this step first anyway?
It is a viable option if you just want something quick and dirty, but I'm kind of trying to teach like the methodology of like how these things work and how you can use them to your advantage.
Absolutely.
Because even though I'm using GPT, and excuse me, this is why I'm using GPT to caption my data sets, is because I can push GPT to only describe like very select things in very specific ways, or bring attention to things, or completely ignore things to say. And so like I really get to sculpt my own little machine of how it's captioning stuff, because I understand these concepts, and I'm not just hitting give me words and then hitting train, you know, like
Give me a caption.
Give me a caption.
Yeah.
Yeah, because like my inclination is to be as lazy as possible and just do captionless training, but you know, screw that, I guess.
Bring attention to the subjects. Describe.
I'll let you take over. I'm going to grab some water. I'll be right back.
Word.
Nice. Water.
And describe them in detail. Do not bring up anything about style, color, composition.
We should have got a data set together on PERS.
Just train PERS's face.
Yeah, we should have trained a PERS
He's already
model.
got one.
Well, he does, but we should have trained the PERS Flux LoRA on stream.
Okay, and so now I can just be like, describe this image with let's try like 20 words. 20 words with no more than 20 words in an artistic, descriptive manner with, yeah. And yeah, we'll leave it to that. And let's just see what one picture does. Dump it here.
Something also great about, I mean, this works with regular captioning as well, but something great about doing that very intentional, vague captioning is when you finally get the model out on the other end and you go to test it. A great way to see if it's overtrained is to use that basic vague prompt and see if, like, how close is that to the image it's associated with in the data set, especially with LoRAs. Doing that, you can really quickly tell whether or not you've pushed a model too far, and it's unable to generalize, because you want that style to be flexible, right? And if it's giving you some weird approximation of an image from your training data, just from the prompt alone, it's not very flexible. It's not going to be able to generalize that style onto a bunch of things very well.
Mhm.
So it kind of helps you see like how flexible that model is. If it can give you something unique, maybe it's a little similar, but something unique in any case, and the style can come through. And vague prompting helps with that in any case, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, I've experimented with like a few different themes of captioning things, like how granular can I get with it? Can I like teach it the concept of like a lighting or
Yeah.
something, or like an aura or a vibe, or
Mhm.
something that's like not really tangible, but possibly is a pattern given data on it.
I kind of want to approach or try approaching captioning with what I do for my prompts, where I'm providing an image and then keywords and saying, like, use the keywords to influence how you would describe theoretically this image, basically. Uh, I'm wondering what if you applied that same concept to like prompts? If it just, you added random keywords to prompts for some crazy data set, right? It would have to be something really abstract, some SD 1.5 or SDXL
Yeah.
synthetic data, but have it caption that stuff with really crazy prompts, and then go and, I don't know, get GPT-2 to be a schizophrenic on your prompt box and just say some random LLM babble and see what comes out of it. That might be fun.
Yeah, I mean, like Purse said, you can kind of like train in anything you want, right? And so, but subsequently, you can also overwrite anything you want too.
Yep.
Like if the model is bad at doing specific styles, poses, or something is just not represented in a proper way, you can target that word or that phrase or whatever it is, and train a data set that is a better representation, and target it and fix the problem, or yeah, do what we do and just create absolute nonsense.
Yeah, just train more slop on the pile and see
More
what
slop.
happens. Yeah, yeah.
That's
Flop
funny.
Just
LoRA.
keep it going. Slop LoRA? The slop LoRA?
Into
All
it.
right, so I'm gonna just like run this now, and we're gonna kill it. And so basically what it's gonna do is it's gonna like iterate through this folder, and make the requests. I'm getting it to spit out captions in 20 words.
Hmm.
And yeah, so it's already started here, and you can start to see them populate. Let's like check one out here. Man
Someone asked.
examines futuristic car design on his smartphone, surrounded by technological elements and retro aesthetics.
Let's see
Beautiful.
Okay.
the image.
I
Oh yeah,
mean, yeah,
Yep, there you go. Well, look at that.
Damn.
crazy.
Yeah. So and now we're just ripping now.
Why? Someone asks, why do generative images have problem with laying down and fighting scenes? That's typically a result of overcorrection from like censoring models, or data sets even, which happens a lot. Any large models or services that intend for millions of people to be able to use them to
Yeah.
generate synthetic images, they, in most circumstances, have to censor what those models can do. And in many cases, they use other deep learning models to censor either the data set that they're using to train or the model itself, or both. and that can mess up things like anatomy, laying on grass, fighting, violence of any kind, that kind of thing. Yeah. The model isn't incapable of learning it. It's always censorship.
Yeah, pretty much. Or
Yeah,
it
I've
was
seen
a,
some
there was a
terrifying
bad
LoRAs.
representation. Like for whatever reason, most models can't do like roller skates very well. And I
Yeah.
haven't tried.
They're
I
like
haven't tried Flux,
blocks
but
with wheels going the wrong way.
yeah,
Like they're
it's
always like the
yeah.
wheels are always like sideways. I love it.
Yeah, that kind of like extends to like skateboarding stuff too.
Yep.
I have not been impressed with skateboarding shit.
I love doing skateboarding with ADIF because like they're always like turning the wrong way on the board and just like
Yeah,
like,
man.
like
The whole
grinding
like, sense
across
of
the
physics.
ground. Yeah, it's so funny.
I love that. The ray gun breakdancing videos.
We
from,
watched
like,
that on the
Monday.
Civic stream today. It's so funny. Oh
Dude,
my
those
god.
are so good. So
That's
hilarious.
a classic, really. Okay, so we have our data set now. And I guess let's just send it to Civit, and then while we once Civit's cooking, we'll quickly run through installing the
RunPod
repo
or
on like
whatever,
your
yeah.
own RunPod. Yeah.
Yeah. You
Okay,
nerds
so I'm
ready?
just
Get your
going-
nerd pens and nerd pads ready, you nerds, because we're gonna nerd it up in NerdPod. Yeah, nerds.
Lots of buttons, lots of dependencies, honestly.
Yeah, so many
You like
dependencies.
dependencies.
Oh god, I hate it so much.
Taz
Least
says,
favorite
"Who
part.
is censoring skateboards and roller skates, though?"
I know. That's what I'm saying, dude.
In the case in the case
hell?
of things like skateboards, roller skates, glass breaking, etc., I mean that's where the model it shows its weaknesses. It's not like a physics simulator, right?
Yeah.
So it has
It
no
doesn't get what
concept
happens
of-
after things happen, or that there is an after or a before.
Yeah, or that there's depth, right?
Yeah.
Like without a depth control net, it has no concept of like what three
It's in
dimensions
front
is.
or behind. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's just, I mean, if you train a model on a bunch of photos of people skateboarding, it'll start to get skateboards correct. But,
Yeah.
you have to
That's what,
really push it.
K4 says, so just train it on Thrasher Mag images. He's like totally right. A Thrasher LoRA would be sick.
That would be pretty dope. Thrasher, oh man, do you get some like old skateboard magazine LoRAs trained up? That'd be nice.
Actually, old like New York Zine LoRA would be, yeah. I want to just make 5,000 LoRAs now.
I understand. Yeah, it never ends.
Pretty much. Okay, so I've zipped all of our data. I'm gonna come over here.
So that zip file contains the images and the text files, right? Just like
Yes, just,
alternating
yeah, whole
essentially,
zip.
same file name, but text and
Yep, same file name.
JPEG or whatever, PNG.
Sick. And so that's another thing too, right? Like that's kind of where my nodes come in. Like this thing does all that for you.
Yeah, otherwise
make
you're
sure that-
manually
yeah.
doing that or using a tool.
Exactly, yeah.
You're
I
having
also
a sad
have
time.
if you want to do this without GPT and just like run your own data set, I have a tool called Image Caption Saver, and so this essentially does this. It takes in an image. Your caption text can be something like this, and then you know what I mean. So like that could be like that, and then it will save the image and it will save the text in the same naming convention, same name,
Nice.
just the extension. So that's what this does by itself. Really useful. Okay, so now we're just gonna go over to Civit, and we're going to train a LoRA.
Do you have
I
enough
don't
buzz
know
for
what-
this?
Dude? I don't know. Can you send me some?
I'll send you all my buzz again, dude.
Here's 25 buzz.
Man, I love Kaitra, dude. She's so funny. Every time I do something like remotely helpful, where she's like, "Yo, can you send me that workflow to like do this thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, here you go." And she's like, "Sweet, I just sent you 10,000 buzz." I'm like, "What?"
I can't spend all
Why?
this buzz.
Yeah, I gotta start throwing like 1,000 buzz at you every
That's
now
so
and then for
funny.
random things.
I wanna
You
make
can
it
pull her
like a-
chair out for her, and it's like, here's 20K.
Yeah, no, I want to make it like a thing where we just start sending like absurd amounts to each other and just like troves for dumb stuff. Yeah, if you've got it,
Thanks for grabbing me that apple.
Yeah, spend it.
Yeah, but so in all seriousness, I have no idea what the difference of these
The character
three
style
options are.
and concept. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that.
Like
What
there's
do you
only
pick?
so many hyper parameters on the back end for training, and like it's so subjective, like what they're actually doing to narrow in on these three categories. Like,
Is there
Do you
a
think maybe
situation
those
where
are, like,
you would pick one?
presets for block weights? Do you think that's possible?
yeah, that's the only thing I
That's
can
the
think
only
of.
thing I can think of is
Yeah,
that they're
100%.
adjusting the weights of the blocks of the
Yeah.
network. But
Yeah.
like, then I want to know how, and I need to go looking for that.
So would you
Well,
pick one like based on like if you were trying to literally do a character, would you pick character, or do you think it
I
doesn't
would.
matter? Yeah.
Short answer, I would. I don't know how technical they are going about it on the back end, but
Yeah.
Binx and I can only presume that they are essentially training into specific blocks, which ultimately hold different pieces of information.
Sure.
So like in blocks tend to hold more compositional elements, so good for characters, right? Character shapes and stuff. And out blocks are more like fine grain detail, and like textures and stuff like that. And now there's no like hard and fast rule. Like I want to make that very clear. Like block weights are
There is a lot
mystery.
of things happening in the
a
latent
lot of
space.
things.
This is all just experimentation and anecdotes of things
Yeah.
that we've noticed. And yeah, that's a very strong point to make.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I don't know. Like I would, my best recommendation is just like pick the one you're gonna do. So in this case, we're gonna do style, and we're gonna call it retro YOLO phone, or something,
Retro YOLO
or something.
or something.
And
like that.
we're gonna upload the zip, zippity doodah,
That's cool.
and yeah, it should have it. Yeah, so
Beautiful.
we have our captions, and now we're just gonna. So now this is the auto tagger, right? And so this is where you would do that.
If you hadn't done
wanted
it,
to
you can do it
use-
there. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. We're gonna send it.
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna
unauthorized.
send it.
Oh, bud,
Send it, bud.
send it.
Oh, bud.
I wonder if you don't click this and hit go, it's like Civitai just makes it public or something.
Is that so? What is that? I can't because of my screen. I can't.
And
read
just
it.
like auto post it.
What's it say? Like
I
keep
mean-
this on my own personal thing for now, or
I want to
it-
share my data set is a
yeah,
checkbox.
yes, yeah. It's like proving that you like own the rights to the images to cover Civit's butt, and then also like, do you want to share? Okay, so like right out of the gate, you got your options. Flux
Yep.
SDXL 1.5. We're gonna click Flux, obviously, and like look at the price jump. So we have like standard SD 1.5 1,000 or 500, sorry, and same with SDXL. It looks like Dev 2,000. So in my eyes, that just means that whatever system they got running in the back is probably not optimized, because training Flux is literally no different than training SDXL. In terms
Yeah.
of like computation and time. So I'm just like, where'd the price jump come from? Or they're just
maybe you
well,
can train
it takes
SDXL.
4 times as long though, right? Like
no, it doesn't.
No.
No way. It's just this. It's the same amount of time, because at
Oh,
the end
really?
of the day, like you're just training 1024. Like maybe if you rented like a 48 gigabyte card and you were like training actual 2K images.
It's still just just whatever resolution you're training at. That has more of an impact of training time than anything else. And
Yeah.
Flux has been training about the same rate as SDXL.
Right
Although I will say, I think that it takes a little bit more memory, because there have been times training Flux where I've ran out of memory after like 5 or 6 training runs in a row. But other
Like
than
a
that,
week,
yeah, whatever it is, whatever causes that, it's still, training SDXL versus training Flux. I mean, it takes roughly the same amount of time, unless I'm just overtraining SDXL, just hard training a style in, and pushing it in like 20 minutes.
I thought it took actually longer to train Flux. I didn't realize it was the same as SDXL essentially.
No, I've always kind of trained or preferred training SDXL like low and slow.
Hmm.
And that seems to handle a lot the detail a lot better for especially higher res images.
Interesting.
So yeah, Flux. I mean, you can get it done in like 40 minutes an hour.
Well, cool. Well, we'll
Yeah.
show the RunPod way too. That way you can hopefully, get a few. Like, I think the way to go with that would be to like get 2 or 3 data sets together and then just do a chunk of LoRAs, right? As opposed to like kind of spinning up a RunPod instance just to do one,
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the beauty of RunPod too, is if you have the money to throw around, you can rent a cluster of like 4 or 8 GPUs and run them all in parallel.
Oh,
Ostris made it quite easy in his repo to do that, which is
cool.
amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So I
Different
mean, we're in the
trainings or one training?
well, I mean, different trainings, right? You set up your
Okay.
configs with
You
different
can't like
data sets.
parallelize one training.
You can.
Yeah,
You
you
can
can.
pull resources, but like there's just no reason to do that with a model that
Oh,
only takes 24 gigs to train.
yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So if
yeah,
you can
yeah.
train for that amount of memory, just buy a cluster of like 4090s, and then on each of the GPUs have different training sessions, and then you have all of your LoRa's if you have a bunch of data to work with, right?
Chad says they
Mhm.
explain they can't host it on local servers because of the size, so the customer eats the GPU farm cost. So there you go.
Got it.
Interesting. Okay. Well, in that case, then, like, what am I using Civet for?
Yeah, well, the easiness, right? Like,
The easiness.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
true.
and if you have
Setup.
buzz to spend, who cares? Like,
Totally.
Yeah.
2,000 buzz isn't that bad, I guess. What's that, $5 or something? I don't even know.
I think
what
if
that-
someone,
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
that's
but,
the going
I think
rate
it's
on Replicate to
interactive.
train a Flux LoRa too. So
I think it's like $1 every 1,000.
okay, yeah. Oh well, then
yeah,
maybe it's like
1,000
$2.
buzz.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, that value, excuse me, that value proposition is really good for
Mhm.
just like as easy as that was for me to just drop my
Yeah,
image in
exactly.
and
A lot
go,
of people don't want to deal with
yeah.
spinning up RunPod. It looks scary.
Totally. Okay, I'm just gonna adjust these to like my likings. Network dim, I'm just gonna do 16. That seems
So talk about this.
fine.
What was the default?
Default was 2.
So what's a
on
network dim?
Civet. You can think of the network dim like the size of the network.
The
Dim is
dimensions.
dimensions. Yeah.
Okay.
And so it's quite easy to fall into the trap of thinking like bigger number better and like
Yeah.
Mhm.
More layers.
maybe but like maybe at best, right? And so like an example
So
of
does that
that
increase
is,
training time when you increase that number, or does it?
Yeah, it's more memory and it increases training time as well. The larger the
Yeah.
network, the more it is to train.
And what's the benefit?
the benefit is you're learning more information.
Okay.
That's also
But
the downside, though.
that's the downside of it as
It's
well.
also the downside because, like, maybe you don't want all of the information being perfectly represented. You know, like maybe it hurts flexibility in some ways, depending on how hard you're training, right? Like,
Mhm.
it just depends on like how much data you have, what exactly is the style. Is the style at all represented in the base model already? Are you just supplementing, or are you like trying to add all new features and like, yeah,
Yeah.
it just takes
Yeah,
exploring.
some little things too that Binx and I learned quite early in our training experience was very like intricate styles, or like maybe you like the texture of an image or something, whatever it is. When the network is too low, it can't actually pick up on those details, and like you get like the general amorphous idea
Hmm.
of the image, but you don't get like all the little
It's the style if
quality.
you were squinting at it, you know?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
that's great.
Way to say it.
That's cool.
But that's also an interesting thing to like to know and to do, because sometimes I just want the vibe. I don't
Mhm.
want the specifics.
Yeah.
And like that's when you would turn the network like to a lower number, because
Interesting.
you're like hard capping its knowledge to get like an idea, but not all the little intricacies that come with it.
Chat wants to know if these settings are universal for characters and styles, or would you keep it low for characters, maybe, or what?
Yeah. So, you know, when it comes to characters, man, no, it's not even for both of them, characters and style. I personally would say it comes more down to the captioning style that you do.
Okay.
That's like more important. For example, if I give it like a picture of, I don't know, Sailor Moon or something, but then I get my captions are like designed to describe every little thing about, like, she's wearing a white dress and she's got a crown and she's got blonde pigtails and like this and this and this. But then on the other end, I just type like, you know, Sailor Moon or like woman or something. I didn't trigger any of those other words that the network learned.
Mm-hmm.
And the result of that is you actually don't get your character back.
Yeah,
You
all those
get bits and
associations
pieces.
gone. It's just, yeah, it's out there floating
Interesting.
somewhere.
And so to like get them back, you have to prompt back all those things. It's white skirt, pigtails, blah 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 blah. You actually have to type those in. And so that's where like the captioning really comes in clutch, because you can just generalize and you can like overwrite the concept of a woman with Sailor Moon, or like overwrite the
Oh, okay.
concept
So
of
like
like,
all women
you
and
know what I
everything
mean?
will be Sailor Moons.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And so that's where it becomes a game of like, what do I want to do? What am I trying to achieve with training?
But I will say, even parameters, like,
Oh, yeah.
especially depending on what you're trying to train in and how general you want it trained in or how literal you want it trained in the case of characters, you'll have to adjust your parameters. And no one can tell you what those parameters need to be because it is entirely dependent on your data set and what, like, the details, like what you were trying to train exactly. If it's a style that's very granular and very high, like maximalist, highly detailed, you have to approach it totally differently than just training, like, I don't know, an oil painting style or something, you know. And then training styles is totally different than training characters, and it'll learn these features at different rates. Sometimes different per run, because some things in the training process are randomized just as much as like inferences, right? So it really is just experimentation and seeing what you can make happen. And if there's any doubt what you should be using, start with the default and tweak from there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Awesome.
Tristan in the chat, Tristan said, do pretty much all the same LoRa strategies and techniques for SDXL apply for Flux? Is the architecture pretty similar? Are there different best practices for Flux? And I would say the architectures are different, but the concepts that are like brought in like training from SDXL, they're 100% all applicable here.
Yeah,
cool.
It's all the same thing all the way down.
Yeah.
The only thing that changes is the model's capacity to understand new information, or like its ability to sort of for you to supplement new information into the model and influence it. But yeah, otherwise, everything you've learned about training for SD15 and SDXL, all of it is applicable to Flux as well, as far as the data preparation side of things.
Yeah, parameters definitely might need like tweaking, obviously. And you know, honestly, every training script I use is basically a different bag of tweaking those parameters to find that sweet spot. But all of the same concepts that I would go about trying to find that sweet spot, yeah, they're all the same.
Cool.
Which is awesome. Actually, a little side tangent on that. All the concepts that you have learned for SD and XL and even Flux, they actually apply to almost all neural network training.
All of machine learning and deep
Yeah,
learning, all
of it. Yep.
It's all just data, labels, or unlabeled data, even sometimes, just being thrown at an algorithm, and it's just many millions, maybe billions of numbers, finding features or relationships in that data and figuring out a way to store information, semantic information about that data in those many billions of numbers.
Yeah, it's pretty
Pretty awesome.
crazy.
Lots of numbers though.
Lots of numbers.
Math.
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 Yeah, I mean,
Midjourney Man says he knows a guy with Buzz to spend. We'd like to take this opportunity to announce the Midjourney Man Buzz Grant project.
Yeah,
it's-
Midjourney Man is going to be hosting like he's going to be sponsoring people to train LoRas.
So
on
send
Civ.
him the most filthy stuff you've ever made right on Civitai, and he'll pick a winner.
Buzz
Yeah.
Daddy is gonna drop some.
Yeah,
money
and I
on us.
mean, don't hold
Yeah.
back. I mean, really send him some awful stuff, you know.
Some really terrible, deplorable.
Just some,
generations.
truly awful stuff.
And then when he refuses to train any of it in, complain on Twitter, tag him in it.
You know, censorship, etc.
I love it. Okay.
He says, "Let's go."
Let's go.
Okay, so now we got Civic cooking.
All right. So yeah, what all did you change? You just changed the network dims. Anything else? Learning rate, maybe? Did you change that?
I changed a few things, and I'll go through them when we get the other repo spun
Oh,
up.
okay,
So
cool. Yeah.
we're not actually going to train that one, but
Yeah,
we'll
yeah.
get it spun up and like actually doing the thing.
Cool.
But like in a brief overview, what I basically changed was some of the repeats. I like to keep my epochs at 10. I don't know, it's just a nice number. And then kind of like adjust my repeats and my learning rate to get me in that like optimal sweet spot of like diffusion or sorry, training steps. Which in my case is like 2500 is like what I'm trying to aim for when it comes to training a Flux LoRA. You know, some people have good results going longer, but you know, at the end of the day, like I said, because that learning rate value is just trunking that like moving that line towards the thing. As long as I get close to it within a moderate amount of time, training it for longer at a lower learning rate doesn't necessarily always get you better results. And I've been training a lot of LoRas lately. Like,
It's easier to settle into a valley going low and slow, but you can very
Yes.
easily, like I've had styles come through in 700 steps or 500 steps even,
Exactly.
with only like 6 images in the data set, and it was very flexible. Like, you know, it's totally dependent on the data. There are too many factors to really say whether or not something will work. You just have to really try it.
Glitch Candies wants to know: do you train the LoRas based on the outputs of the first version of the LoRa? I guess meaning, do you look at what it made and do you adjust it and try again, or like, what's your process after you start inferring with that LoRa? Like, if you don't like the images, you try to determine why, and then either decaption that out or like adjust captions or adjust the images. Like, what's your go-to move? For refining LoRa training.
Binx, you want to start that?
Sure. In my case, I am a hoarder. I keep everything. I have so many hard drives, it's ridiculous.
damn it.
Wrong answer. Wrong answer.
Yeah, but I will say, if there's a LoRa that I really wanted to get right, and it's not being represented correctly, I will perform a series of tests, which is just a series of prompts. You can run it in like the base model, and then like maybe if you've had a previous version of that LoRa train, try that instead. Try some prompts and see what you don't like about the model, and make a guess as to whether it's undertrained or overtrained, and you could usually tell. And then just rip it again, or change the data set. Maybe look through your data set and see if there's anything that you don't want in there. Low resolution images, whatever. Or maybe the captions are wrong.
Something you're seeing in the outputs you don't like.
Yeah, usually it's just something in the data is wrong, or maybe your learning rate was too low or too high, or you didn't train it for long enough. But yeah, it all if something isn't performing the way I want it to, I do keep it, and I will use it in model merges in the future. But I will typically just retrain. Just, you know,
Right on.
and a good way to see if a model is overtrained is take a caption from one of the images in the data set and use it as a prompt. And if you get a very, very, very close approximation of that image from the data set, it's overtrained. You have to go back, lower the learning rate a bit, or maybe there are a lot of things you can do. Lower the learning rate, go back, retrain, and see how it performs the next time.
So I love that point. Ooh, nice. I caught it.
Nice.
I love that point. There's a lot of things you can tweak when a LoRa is not performing the way you want. I tend to try to eliminate as many of those variables as I can. And what I mean by that is like my 2,500 steps for Flux. Why did I pick that number? I don't know. Like it's like a standard kind of like middle ground of like a decently trained LoRa. I would say like from 1,500 to like 2,500 steps, like that's like a pretty nice golden range for almost any model you train, honestly. And like Binx said, you can get away with a lot less. But I chose that number. And so now that I have like that number in my head, that number never changes. And all the other parameters, I tweak those to fit that number. Right. And so like maybe 2,500, I'm overcooking it and it's like fitting only to the image. Like Bing said, it's a really, really close approximation, too close, right?
Yeah.
Then I would leave the 2,500 steps alone and I would just tweak the learning rate and say like, how much am I training up to that point, and try to like dial back the threshold until those two things line up. And I'm like, hell yeah. And then there's also the metric of like on the other end of it, what number does the LoRa perform? And I actually think that's more important, because you could have a model like a LoRa that works amazingly, but you can't turn it up past 0.5 on the weight.
Yeah, if you have
And
to
it's like,
adjust
nah.
weights,
Yeah.
The second I start having to adjust weights of my LoRa, I'm like, all right, it's trained very badly. I have to go
Yeah.
retrain this. Like,
Oh,
I don't
really?
want if I can't run a LoRa at one
Yep.
and have that LoRa have good generalization and not recreating things from the data set and have a good hold of the style, I don't want to use it. Because I don't
okay.
want to upload a LoRa somewhere and have people trying to wait it around or like have to out of the gate crank it to like 1.4 or like cut it down to 0.8 or something. That's just too much. Like, why make more work for people to have to do and figure out? They're just gonna think your LoRa is bad and move on, you know. So
Interesting.
I really try to go for like that generalization at a weight of 1. And if you can't do that, just adjust your learning rate. That's it. Just try it again.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes you need to go harder, like it's undercooked, like 1 gives you no style at all. And you're like, okay, maybe I need more steps. Maybe you need higher learning rate. Try again and move on. The thing with training LoRas that nobody likes and nobody wants to talk about is it's like tweaking a K sampler, but you only get to tweak it once every 2 hours.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
like, God damn it.
Yeah. My patience could never.
Yeah, that's the shitty part about LoRa training.
Sure.
And so that's why like parallelization is good for that, because you can, in the same hour, you know, whatever, spend $5, shotgun like 4 to 8 variations of the same LoRa and just be like, okay. And they all have different settings. Like you change the training settings and you tried different things, but you only did it in the 1 hour kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's where renting a cluster comes in really
Yeah.
handy. If you're experimenting a lot, you'll usually save money renting a cluster of like 4 4090s versus like just renting a 4090 or whatever GPU is available.
Yeah.
And then just run parallel training and see which one performs better, and then run in that direction, you know?
Right on. Yeah, Tristan says he purposely overtrains his LoRa's on products for product photography to keep the product consistent, but then he bakes the background scenes into the LoRa's as well. So, yeah, that can happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
It learns what it sees.
There's also masking, which not a lot of repos actually support, but that's a thing. You can like, and this excuse me, in the same way that we can like do masked diffusion, you can do masked training as well.
Mm.
And I personally have not messed around a lot with that. Something to keep in mind though, as you guys start digging through these tools, like, do these tools offer that availability? Because it is powerful. I think we should spin up a fun pod.
Fun pod. Let's slide on over.
Cosmic Crafter says, I always adjust the LoRa weight to change the influence it has on my image. Am I working wrong? No, you're not working wrong. But it's just a matter of the quality of the LoRa at a weight of 1 is what concerns me. And when I'm just testing to see if a LoRa like worked, if it was trained properly, I'm not really concerned about adjusting how much it's influencing the model as much as I want to know, is it at a weight of 1, like, is it making the images look bad, you know, or not represented in the way it needs to be. That's it. And then from there, yeah, you can adjust the weights all you want to increase the influence or decrease the influence, and especially when you're doing merging and stuff. But yeah, that's just testing.
All right, so we're on the homepage of RunPod here. You know, do the obvious, log in, add some $roonies, and then you can click their logo, and it'll apparently not bring me to where I want to go. Click the little burger icon, and you get this like pop out. And basically, what we're looking for is we want to start from a template or like a serverless. So no, that's not what we want either. We want pods. Yes, pods. Okay, so come over to pods and hit deploy, and then you get a bunch of this nonsense and crazy stuff that looks scary with dollar amounts. But this is where you get to like select your cards. And so, like Binx and I were mentioning, 24 gigs. That's the bare minimum, baby. You have to buy a card with at least that to train a Flux LoRA. And in this case, I'm just gonna buy the 1. But so if you see here, this one says 8 max, and so that means like I can rent a cluster of 8 maximum of that card, and the price will adjust, of course. But for this sake, we're just gonna click 1. So click it. If yours doesn't say PyTorch 2.1, change the template, come over and find PyTorch 2.1 or any of the PyTorches if you know.
Can you do me a favor?
So
Zoom in a
doing-
couple shots on that window, just like control
Here, I'll
scream
do
up.
this.
Yeah, just so we can see.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
Sure, people
All
can
right,
read all
so-
this stuff.
Yeah. So if your template here, once you select your card, doesn't say PyTorch, change it to PyTorch 2.1. This is where you select your GPU amount, and we're just gonna hit deploy at the bottom, and then click My Pods. And so this is the log, this little drop down. This is the equivalent of your Comfy terminal, basically, but it's for the instance.
Right.
Speaking of, I need to shut off my RunPod before.
Still running.
I think I still have a couple running, yeah.
All right, and so now you're just going to patiently wait. It should be quite quick, but now we can connect to it. So we click connect, and then this might take a second to load up. But basically, we want this 888 local port, and it will spin up Jupyter. And so if anyone who hasn't used Jupyter before, you can think of it like a very compressed, like virtual computer that only does a couple of things, basically. Gives you access to like a command terminal, and has some like basic notebook functionality as well as a directory.
It's like Google
kind of
Collabs that
manager.
you spin up like
Yeah,
locally
it's like
to
Flux.
run books. Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go over to Ostris's GitHub page. It's called AI Tools Toolkit, sorry,
Oh yeah, let me drop that.
by
in the chat.
Ostris. Yeah, definitely drop that. Links in the description, as they say.
Click the bell.
Hey, that's Pers's line.
Yeah,
That's
like
true.
and,
That's my bad.
like and subscribe and all that.
All right, so
Or
on the main
don't,
page
whatever.
here, or don't, never come back.
Yeah,
I
don't want you.
So on the main page here of Ostris's AI Toolkit, we're just going to scroll down and we're going to look for Linux. And we're going to just copy that wholesale, just straight up. We're just going to copy it. Ostris did so good on this. And no, wait. Hold on. Back up.
Mhm.
When RunPod makes a pod, it limits the size of the pod, or defaults rather, to 20 gigabytes. And so when the pod spins up, click on this little burger icon and hit edit pod and change the container and the volume to 200 gigs apiece.
So
Just
the
hit
machine
save.
we're spinning up doesn't have enough hard drive space to
Yes.
do all the things
Yes.
it needs to do.
And you do
That's
not
the
need 200 gigs.
No.
You do pay for that like storage that you are taking up on their server. So, you could probably get away with like 70. I would probably stick around 100 gigs minimum. But yeah, increase the weight of your volumes on that pod, because otherwise the model itself is like 24, 25 gigabytes.
Yeah.
You're just going to fill up the storage on the pod. It's going to freeze and you're not going to know what's going on. So definitely, go to edit pod and then change your storage settings.
That was something I ran into a few times before. I was like, what the heck is going on? And then I
Right.
was like, oh my God.
I gave up
Such
and
a-
went to Vast before I figured it out. I was like, oh man, Jesus. We got so used to working with those 5 gig models, it was never a problem, So
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so now that we have Ostris's thing and our pod is set right, we're just going to copy this Linux command here. Go back over to Jupyter. We're going to open up a terminal just on the base workspace.
and blow that
Remember,
up. Zoom in.
this is all like default. I didn't change anything. I literally just like opened a terminal, and if you don't know how to do that, just on this main page
That
here,
little
launcher.
terminal with the $sign.
Yep, that's it, baby. And we're just gonna paste it in, and we're gonna hit enter. And now this is gonna take a minute, so we can.
It's building the environment, grabbing all the models it needs, getting all the dependencies, building them all, essentially making the environment it needs to make to train the models. This is the part that is already done when you do stuff on Civit. Like these servers are ready to go. They're spun up. They just take the ingestion and go. Here we need to actually build the machine. But Ostris has made it super easy to do so.
Yeah. Bless that man's heart.
So awesome. The repo.
Yeah, does Ostris have a Patreon or something? Let's find out.
I'm not sure.
Maybe he's got a Ko-fi or something. Because like if you're gonna be doing any Flux training locally, we should find a way to support Ostris because he's doing fantastic stuff. Also, he's sponsored by Glyph. Cool. Yeah. So go help. Go play with Glyph. Glyph is pretty sick. I haven't played with it myself, but from what I've seen, it looks really fun. Just like workflows in little applets you can run right on their Glyph site, so you don't have to know Comfy to do Comfy stuff. It's pretty cool.
I highly encourage everyone to at least once or twice run through and learn how to do this process, because everything you learn here is like completely applicable to a near infinite amount of things.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Everything to do with generative anything, or even just machine learning anything, all of it is the same thing over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's it is intimidating to step towards it and do it your first few times, but once you have it down, you'll see. It's not that crazy. Once you do it a couple times, it's really straightforward.
Yeah, spinning stuff up and like Python dependency whack-a-mole is like a universal thing. So like
Yeah.
after you've done it
Yeah.
a bit, you can pretty much do it anytime, and then you know what to Google, you know what it means, and then if the answers are 4 years old, they're not for you.
And if it breaks, you just delete the virtual environment and
Yeah,
recreate
try
it.
again.
Try
Yeah,
again.
try
You
again.
know,
It's
it's
something
all,
probably got
yeah.
scuppered in the middle there.
Exactly. Yeah. So just go through step by step every repository that I've seen, at least that most people are using in the space, has pretty good instructions on getting things set up and running. And if you just follow those, take the time to read those, usually you'll be all right.
So this is gonna take a goddamn minute, so we should do anything else.
Right on. Show us some of your awesome creations, Phil. What have you made with Flux? What have you got going
crazy.
on? Let's see it.
Yeah, that glitch art.
Oh yeah,
That's crazy.
Yeah, the stuff where the
LoRA's
sections, all
awesome.
the sections are pulled out and stuff. Looks great.
Yeah, man.
that Flux keep Flux. All right, maybe descending. Okay.
You have a keep and delete folder?
What? Yeah. Like
Nice.
I only keep the cream of the crop. Everything else is garbage to me. I don't want.
Yeah, I keep slop, baby.
Yeah,
I'm
I know
like-
you
keep
do.
it all.
Yeah, man, I keep
it all.
everything.
I can't help it.
Dude, I can't. Like, I mean, I'm also redlining all my goddamn hard. So it
Me
doesn't
too.
Oh,
You know what I do?
very
you know what
quickly.
I do? I wait a month and I buy another one.
Very
Oh my
quickly,
God.
Tristan would like to know if either of you have ever gotten into training your own control nets or using diffusers.
Using diffusers.
Hast thou trained control nets?
Close. Something like that, right? The control net LoRAs. I kind of played around with the canny data sets on like LoRa training. And I know, Phil, you were doing some stuff as well.
Yeah, that depth LoRa is super fun. It's not a control net, but it kind of is.
Yeah, it's like it kind of does a thing. It's not a control net though. Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a preprocessor or something.
Yeah, exactly.
Training a control net is not what's the word? Any less accessible than like what we already do, but like it takes so much data and so much time and like money because you are training a very generalized concept. And for anyone who doesn't know, a control net is basically like a clone of the way it's like reconditioned kind of thing. It's like a weird hack.
Reconditioned to work on like minimal or like a new type of input that's like kind of a minimal representation of the image. And yeah, it's
but no, I personally haven't trained any control nets. Trained video models though. That's something I've been doing a lot of. And I've also been doing some classes on just like training networks in general, like very general like training classification models that don't exist because like I wrote the architecture and then trained it kind of thing. And yeah,
they
getting
exist
into
now.
that world.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
But it's the concepts, like we said, still kind of transfer over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's all practically the same thing. Yeah, control nets are nothing but models that have just been trained on different data. So
we can like step through.
Yeah.
My stuff is like almost like a timeline because that's kind of how I've been saving these is. So this was spoopy, and so like this is base Flux pretty much day one when it came out, and I started slamming clip encoders into it. So this is base Flux with just that, which was pretty cool. And like, you know, basic, like nice looking art. And then things started to get a little more weird, a little more like stylized. And these are all like custom trained LoRAs, and I'm like pushing them into the different mediums via prompting and like seeing how well the style is represented across like multiple mediums within the model.
Yeah,
And you
this
can
stuff
see
is
that from
great.
like this being 3D and like this being a little more like two-dimensional.
Yeah.
This one's awesome. I love like the weird fuzzy texture of him.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it
That's
definitely
wild.
looks like he's like not exactly there. It's cool.
Yeah. I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, this is just like straight spoopy stuff.
Straight spoopy stuff, dude.
Straight spoops. What else we got? We got weird flowers. I don't know, dude.
Those are great.
These are yeah, man, Flux is so good at textures. It's like,
Yeah,
oh
like
Yeah,
mixing
dude. It
realism
reminds
with
me
like
of Jax, man. I swear I haven't seen a generative image model with textures like this since Jax.
so satisfying, honestly. Yeah, and so now we're getting in more into like me diving into like tuning a bunch of styles, like throwing everything I got at it. And so this is like my vector pop style. Very like, yeah, very flat. It loves the borders, like compositions like spilling off like this, where like it's a border, but the plant kind of comes off of it, kind of thing.
Those nice pastels, like the muted colors.
Yeah, exactly. That's
not quite so
uh,
saturated. I love the
That's
love the
classic
fingies on that one. I
solo.
love the fingies on that last one. Like
This one,
yeah.
Yeah.
There's too many. I was
Blink
like,
and you
"No,
miss
dude."
it. Yeah, blink and you miss it.
So close.
I want to get
So
some of them
close, yeah.
extra fingies for real life. You know, the like the little ring gives you an extra finger, so when people take pictures of you, you got like 6 fingers.
That's so like make it
Yeah.
like a Instagram filter.
Yeah, I mean, it's real life.
Oh my god, dude.
That's crazy. Yeah.
That's nice. I like that.
This one?
Yeah, the way
That's pretty nice.
the cloak
Yeah, I
breaks
don't-
down into the like silky curtainy things. It's
You're doing the thing, man. You got desensitized to how dope your stuff is again.
yeah.
Yeah.
What did I tell you about doing that?
You know, you never know what people are gonna like, right?
Yeah,
Like
that's
what I'm
true,
looking
yeah.
for is not what you guys are looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. The stuff I post to my Instagram is definitely never the things that anyone would ever want me to post.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Too friggin' bad.
Too bad, dude.
Yeah, so now we're getting into like the weird glitch stuff that we were talking
Yeah,
about.
that I love the pixel
love
sorting
that,
but
Yeah,
it
that's
like
so
still
good.
geometrically right. Yeah, it's cool.
Just like
That's
falling
so
apart.
good, man.
This is you can see here like this is where I was like trying to play with upscaling. There's like quite distinct seams.
Yeah.
And I was like, I still like the image. I'm gonna keep it anyway.
Yeah.
But-
That's cool.
Yeah, this is trippy as hell.
That's so nice. I really like that.
It's clean. Like it's very like 3D.
Yeah.
Cosmic Crafter would like to know if any of your Flux models will be on your Patreon.
Yes, actually. All of the models that I've trained so far, I'm trying to get a little bit more. I want to like drop them in like a nice batch of 10.
Cool.
10 like really fun LoRAs. Basically all the styles I'm like presenting here. Yeah, drop them all on my Patreon for my paid subscribers.
Superb. Yeah, because it'll be fun to start mixing all those together and start building your own styles out of stuff that you've already distilled. Because, like, yeah, I don't know about you guys, but like, my favorite part of all this is like saying, you know, back in the day, it would be like taking an artist and making them work outside of their medium, you know, like,
yeah,
making like Geiger be a spray paint artist or something, and you're just kind of like, what happens there? Right?
I really like this image. I don't know why. It's like this
it's cool.
weird mix of. It's not like I'm not even a fan of skulls really. But
It's
it's
the
like a
cloak
weird
is cool
mix of-
too. Like,
Yeah, it's like 3D, but like kind of flat. I don't know.
oh, it looks great.
2.5D kind of thing going on.
2.5D. Yeah, now we're getting super weird. Like it only gets weirder, honestly. Yeah,
That's great.
this one really stuck out to me.
Do I
Just-
detect a tinge of synthetic animate?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, like all
Nice.
all of this kind of stuff.
That's great.
Yeah, this one's weird.
Yeah, I love that synthetic anime stuff. This is like such a cool, like, you know.
Subgenre.
Yeah.
Yep. So dope, man.
This
That's
one's
really
so-
nice. I like that.
This one's so silly.
Dr.
And so, okay,
Scullington?
so I want to talk about this one for a second because this one was used with like 2 or 3 LoRAs, and this is what I'm talking about. One of the LoRAs I had trained was PERS. I think you saw it. It was like a wireframe, very like maximalist, like tons of little stuff all over the page, but like very neatly dispersed and like defined
Yeah.
in terms of the composition. And when I use that LoRa lightly in conjunction with my other stuff, what I get is like exactly that. I get all this like little kind of like stuff, just random stuff around the edges.
But it
and so,
makes a
like,
huge difference compositionally. Like,
oh yeah, it's like
so many
everything,
things
you
to
know?
look at.
That's why I keep all my trash LoRa's, because I'm like, just merge random ones into each
Yeah.
other and
Yeah.
see what happens. Because
Exactly.
sometimes some incredible features kind of start presenting themselves.
Yeah, the
I would
detail
almost
is
say
great.
most times.
Most times, yeah.
What else we got?
Tristan
This
says, so
one I
these are
really
images
like.
you generated with custom LoRa's? Yeah, these are all generated with
Yes,
Flux
yeah.
LoRa's, right?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah, this is all Flux. Every image here is Flux in conjunction with honestly like 1 to 5 different LoRa's that I've made.
Sounds right.
Together, you know, together or by themselves. I can't remember honestly, but yeah, this was the style that I trained in. I think I showed you guys the bubble style, like those girls, and it's called like liquid and flowy or whatever. Like
Yeah.
that's in this one, I believe. Random skulls. Now we're getting into more of like the neon kind of like 2D vector art stuff. So like now, like you can see as I was like stepping through, I was like, I would train a LoRa, I would explore with it, and then I would train another LoRa, and then I would explore with it, and then maybe start to smash LoRa's together and explore with it. And
Right.
so like we're stepping through that like evolutionary process with the images that I deemed good enough to keep.
It's like the family tree of your aesthetic.
Yeah. And so like yeah, this is where I started to like really hone in on like that weird
Yeah, it's
proppy,
nice.
like broken up
Mm.
kind of sliced style. Which is really
That's
fun.
awesome.
I really like it.
Yeah. Revealing
So good,
stuff
man.
underneath.
Yeah. This cat came out so good.
Like, it's sort of like the fabric of reality just being like resorted.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the fact that we have a model that takes as well to styles, or even better to styles, than SD 1.5, with as much coherency and prompt adherence as Flux has. It's really just incredible. We are really blessed to have been given this by the original ComfyUI team from Black Forest Labs now.
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
mean, you know, like the list goes on and on here. Some of the highlights I like this kind of style is like really speaking to me lately. What else do I got going on here? Yeah, and then so like I started to make the shift again where actually Binx, you'll love this one. I think this is up your alley.
Ooh.
Dude, that's nice. That's so
I don't know,
good, man.
just like these weird deformed like megalith creatures, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so
That's
here's
dope.
like more of like that bubble style, and you can start to really see that style come through. So this was I don't even have the data set yet. Where was it? iPhone? No. It was Heaps. and stable, and it was Bubble Girls. Yeah. So that was these, right? And so like that image that I just had up on the screen was trained from this LoRa
Mm.
in that data set. And so like you can kind of start to understand like, you know, where is the sweet spot of like what I want the model to do. And like there's no question that that LoRa is present, that style is present in this image, right? But it's still like a different subject.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what Binx and I were talking about of like, yeah, the LoRa works, it's in like sitting in a pocket.
No, it's super
Um,
sick.
That's so good, man.
Yeah, these ones are like some of my favorites.
Yeah,
Just like
those
this
are awesome.
weird shredded neon, like yeah, exploding. I don't even know.
It's
I
awesome.
lot, and then of course like Flux can type.
Flux
I
can
know,
type,
it's so
you
good.
can make posters with this stuff.
You
You
can
know,
make
like,
posters, you know, like go touch grass, loser, or like
awesome.
don't do drugs, you know.
Or
I
this
didn't
will
type any
happen
of
to
that.
you.
The model did it. I told it to do it, but it did it.
Yeah, it's crazy. And like even in a cool style you wouldn't have necessarily done.
Yeah. I was exploring this idea last night, like this like
Mm.
anaglyph kind of like
Mm.
shredded vintage poster, but with like puzzle pieces. Like, I think it looks really cool.
Yeah, that's neat.
That's really sick.
Reminds
like
you of the
that.
poster for the man with the movie camera. You know that poster?
No, I actually don't.
Look that up. The man with the movie camera.
I think this one's one of my favorites. Like, she's holding her eye.
That's so cool, man. Wow.
Yeah, this one came out pretty exceptional on like the conceptual idea. And that was the one I recently just posted. But anyway, that's like a brief overview of like what I got going on. Binx, like I don't even think I've seen your library of LoRAs yet.
I mean, I've been like working a lot, to be fair. I've been working more than I've been like getting data sets together. I have a lot of data sets together, mind you, through the years, but let's see. I have my browser shared.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna have to share my screen to go through my folder. But let's see. How many outputs do I have right now?
Just if you hit open file in the browser, does it show that window? Like if you like
yeah,
open
true. Yeah, I could just click and drag. Yeah. So I started. Let's go way back. Let's go. Where was it? Yeah, so I had a bunch of data sets, like 2D data sets. I just like opened the workflow. Not what I meant to do. Choose another app. Google Chrome. Application. Just once.
Everybody, look at how perfectly tightly spaced Binx's nodes were. Doesn't it?
I know, dude. It's too
do
much.
it for you? Doesn't it?
You like that?
Do it for you? You like that?
node
You like that
configuration?
chat? You like that chat?
No, I don't.
Oh yeah.
You sure about this?
This is
You sure
so
about
close together. Oh my god.
Look at these, man. You know, how could you ever get lost?
Yeah, they're all together.
I have a lot of people saying they prefer the left to right workflow. I like the left corner to bottom right corner workflow, except for when it comes to upscaling. That always goes somewhere else. But anyways, I started over here in like this territory, this kind of thing, and experimenting with upscaling. I spent probably the better part of like 2 days getting a workflow together that didn't ruin my renders on the upscale. And then I just started training old data sets from SD 1.5 into Flux and seeing. This is all randomized prompt. I don't know the prompts for any of these. This is GPT-4's prompt work here. I'm just training the models. So I got together a data set on like old vintage books and like book illustrations and made a model based off of that.
Whoa.
And this came out so good, man.
Yeah.
That's
the
clean.
texture of
Fantastic.
the pages comes through on the majority of these. Let's see. Can't show that one. That's not good. Okay.
Good to have the buffer.
And yeah, then these like more book
Ooh.
illustration stuff.
Nice.
Like just very,
The
very
colors are so good on that.
Yeah, dude. It's just I love the look of this. And then you get into more weird stuff. I went and the same prompt but with a different LoRa.
Whoa.
Whoa.
And this was trained on my old SD 1.5 stuff.
Cool.
So
Colors
it's just
again.
one of the pockets that I found myself in with SD 1.5. I had a good like 50 images that had this style going. And I said, "Hey, Flux, can you handle this for me?" And it handled it. It did the thing, boss. Here's a cheeseburger.
Yeah,
Look at
these
that.
are really
Damn.
cool.
Popping.
It's the thing, boss.
Yeah, and then
Jeru asked if you could keep that workflow on the screen. He was almost finished.
oh yeah, dude, here you go. Take a screenshot right here.
No, that's not what he was doing.
There's a and then I went back and started like trying to merge the book illustration with some surrealist LoRAs.
Whoa. Yeah.
And then started merging more 1.5 data into Flux, and things just started kind of breaking for a while, to be honest.
Yeah.
As it does.
Yeah, as it does. I got that thing going. That was pretty
Nice.
decent.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Some pastel pop. Hell yeah.
Some pastel anime stuff going on.
It hurts my eyes. It's fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you have this like chaotic nonsense.
Oh,
This
that's neat.
is- yeah,
There's a
this
little
is
bit
the
of rubber
stuff that
hose
I
in
really
there.
like.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you train models on your previous outputs, over
Mhm.
time, more and more chaotic things begin happening in them. And this is
Yo.
an example of my data set being way too busy, and my captions were
cool, though,
admittedly
man.
probably very bad.
I really like that.
Yeah, it's got some weird stuff going on with a lot of I don't even know what like half this stuff is, to be honest with you. And then I went back and settled back into a valley where it made sense.
Cool.
And started doing this flat stuff.
Whoa.
And from here,
I can't
just
wait till we
started
can
merging.
animate with this stuff.
oh yeah, dude, that's gonna be crazy. From here, just straight up started merging LoRAs and experimenting with that.
Whoa.
And I had this LoRA trained from a fella on Instagram. I don't
Yeah.
plan on making this public or the data set public, but I will be making merges with it in the future. And this is that model merged with
Crazy.
two other Flux LoRAs to make a portrait. And then three other LoRAs right here to make this portrait, and you just
Whoa.
continue down this path of like, I'm still just merging things that I have now trained and trying to see where it's going to end up. But Flux is very stylistically capable. I know I saw a lot of people on Twitter when the model first dropped talking about it wasn't taking well to new data, or it wasn't representing styles in a nice
eye
way.
Yikes.
That one's
Which
so
eye one?
cool.
That
Oh, yeah,
eye,
dude.
your eye LoRa
yeah.
thing is crazy, man. The extra eyes.
Yeah, and then I've got like stuff like this going on now, where it's like body horror art.
Mm.
And I'm really liking this vibe at the moment, so I'm kind of exploring that. It's really grungy.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is kind of at the moment where all of my data has led me, and now I'm exploring merging
Whoa.
that with the book illustration stuff, right? So
Yeah,
now you
dude.
go
Hell
back
yeah.
full circle, and
Love it.
you're trying to
Yeah.
see where things end up. You
Oh,
went
man.
Lovecraftian horror.
Yeah, Clive
to-
Barker graphic novels.
Yeah,
Dude,
yeah. Seriously.
Hellraiser, the
You
comic.
gotta make them like anatomy. You know that like gross anatomy book that you have?
Oh,
Yeah,
yo.
yeah.
Make like a vintage version of that with like the vintage LoRa, this like Lovecraftian style.
Ugh.
I think that would work really well with that subject matter of like anatomy, like T-pose, like body diagrams and stuff.
Whoa. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of like anatomy data sets. So I could probably get some of those anatomy illustrations out of that one book that like teaches you how to like, you know, take
Yeah,
someone's
all
hand
sorts.
off. Yeah, it's like all sorts of surgeries and amputations. It goes into great detail on and has a lot of illustrations. I'll train that up and I'll see what's up. I'm gonna explore the body horror stuff a little bit more with Flux before I move on to other things for sure. And yeah, and then you can do it's just weird stuff, just really strange things that I'm kind of pushing out of Flux at the moment.
Hide the salami.
They
Oh.
can't see that, but yeah, like that's what I've been doing with Flux. Is here, I'll switch mine real quick. Where are we? There we go. Yeah, so I've been making cursed game shows with Flux. You know, because like it's so good at text, right? Like I don't know, it's too fun. We got where the fuck is Greg? I think maybe Greg's one of them. I'm not sure. Yeah, Tony Hawk Pro Gator. PlayStation 2 game. Mm-hmm. Look at the screenshots.
Oh yeah, I see.
Come on.
It's too good, man.
This cool hot dog.
I like that hot dog.
Actually, a lot of this is grok. Like just
I mean, technically it's Flux too, right?
yeah, it's Flux, yeah. Sly Cooper and the Greedy Tech Bros.
Dude, that's me.
Wait a minute.
The Greedy Tech Bros.
Bet you can't eat all that glass.
That's me.
That's Luma. So Luma lets you go first, last image, and then extended loop. So that's actually how I made the dancing video to promote this live stream as well. Some of you may have seen on Instagram of me and Phil very sultrily dancing.
Doing the tango of love.
That was an incredible video, by the way. I must have watched that thing like 100 times. I'm not even joking. I wish I
closed
was.
it immediately.
Oh yeah, which one of these bananas is made of cement?
What?
Yeah, this looks like a fun game show.
Oh my god, Furs. These are
Oh yeah,
gold.
Call of Duty Stardew Valley. Look at the cute little soldiers.
That would be kind of cool.
Yeah. How many hamsters can you fit in your mouth?
Oh yeah.
I like that. That's a show I would watch.
It's got this like grunt. It's really good at that grungy 50s to 70s style. Yeah, Guess the Rabid Dog.
Yeah, that TV. That's really nice.
Guess the Rabid Dog.
It looks like this guy. It looks like this guy.
Where do you even come up with this?
I don't know. I'm broken inside.
It's so good, man.
Dude, it's perfect. Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so good at text. It's so fun to use.
Definitely.
Like, it's just so fun to use.
Mm.
Yeah, and here's another
Top Gun
point,
Beach
too.
Volleyball or PS2. Anyway, we can get back to actual stuff.
Yeah, the other thing too is it's not only good at text, but somehow it retains the text through all the BS of your LoRAs.
I know that we were talking about that. Like you would think
like, that's
that
crazy.
training the LoRAs would train that out of it, but I guess not.
Or yeah, just destroy it basically. But it doesn't, and like that's so awesome actually, because yeah, you can get that like the silly things like what was in that cookie, like that image and stuff like that, where it's like those LoRAs were cranked real hot, and it can still type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's jump over back to RunPod for a second because we got this spun up.
Here we are.
Zoom in a little bit. Too much.
Kristen wants to know if we've tried Ideogram too. I have seen it, but I have not tried it. I heard it's really good at text also.
Okay. This thing is spun up.
All right.
We are back at the Venv, just like normal console window, and it looks like everything is finished. So the last step we need to do is we need to log in to Hugging Face, because that's where the that's where all the
API key
models will
thing?
be. Yeah, that's where they'll all be downloaded and blah blah blah. And so you're gonna want to go get your Hugging Face API key. I'm not gonna walk you through that, but pretty self-explanatory. Make a Hugging Face account, go to your
Yeah.
account, make an API key, blah blah blah. And then the command to do it is simply Hugging Face space, or sorry, dash CLI space login. And Hugging Face command line interface login. Pretty simple. And then hit enter, and then you'll be prompted with this. And so this is where you paste your API key. So I'm going to do mine off screen.
Yeah. I can hide your thing for a little bit if you want to.
No, it's
You good?
all good. I'm on the other window. It's fine.
Yeah, that's another thing. If you guys start making API keys for these things, keep them safe. Don't put them in workflows. Don't put them in boxes where you have to paste them in and then set that workflow to somebody.
Yeah,
They will
if
have
you
your
have to
API
paste
key.
it in anywhere, don't do it.
Yeah,
Just
you find a
setting
different
it
way
as
where
an
you
environment
set
variable and calling it that way is the safest way, and that can be intimidating, but it's
smarter.
Google is right there. ChatGPT can help you all
GPT.
day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's much safer doing it that way is all.
You just never want to be pasting your API keys in blindly and then potentially sending that workflow to somebody. Even if they have the best intentions, they might send it to somebody who doesn't. So
Yeah.
Okay. So once we have our API key, I've copied it to my clipboard. I'm going to paste it in here, right? But when I paste it once, nothing appears to have changed, but it is there. It's just
it's
the
hidden.
command line's
password.
way of
I
kind
know.
of hiding your password. So
Like
it is there.
asterisks.
And so when I hit enter, it's like, yeah, I want to do the thing. And it says, okay, cannot authenticate. I get all this red text, but if you actually see here, login successful.
Oh.
I'm like, cool. That's all. That's actually all I care about. It's like, I'm logged in. Sick. Now that everything's installed, we have this AI toolkit, and that's like the repo. And under the config folder and under examples, we have Flux train LoRa 24 gigabytes. And we also have Chanel. So technically we can train on both models depending on, what you want to train on. And like, let's open it up. It's pretty damn self-explanatory. Ostris has put so many comments here in green, but just to like quickly run through it, the name of the LoRa, and we can just be like, my LoRa, and then
You
don't
blow
have to
this
touch
up.
this. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that good?
Perfect.
Beautiful.
Actually, let's do that. Yeah. Okay. So we got my LoRa, type SD trainer. Don't need to touch that. Training output. This again is your output folder. I would not touch this. Just leave it as is. It creates a new folder on the main root called outputs right here. So it'll dump everything in there. That's great. And then, okay, so this is where you would want to do your multi GPU training, where let's say I had a cluster of 4, right? So and I run through this config, and I'm like, okay, CUDA device 0, so GPU 0. Great. I go and I launch the training scripts, right? Then I maybe copy this YAML, make a duplicate, fill it out with my like new like data folders and settings and whatever, and then I would come over here and I switch this to 1. And so now I'm training on GPU 1, but GPU 0 is already training. So now I got 0, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever. And so that's how you would do that. Really, really simple. And then we also have simple things like trigger words where you have to uncomment this, but this shouldn't be really something you want to mess with because we're under the assumption that you captioned your own data.
So
LoRA
if you
type,
had just images, you could make it trigger with just one word.
Mhm.
Trigger the LoRA,
Yeah.
but we have
Dreamweaver
captions, so we
style.
don't need it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, classic Dream Booth style of training where it's like, here's a word, here's images, go kind of
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, linear, I believe, is the actual rank, and then alpha is alpha. And so I don't know if we should really go into the alpha.
If they
part of
stay the
things, but
same, leave it alone. Yeah.
yeah, you know what? 16 seems to be good. All my LoRAs have been 16. Again, if
Okay.
you want to change it, 32, 64, it'll take more RAM, VRAM. Precision type, I probably wouldn't touch this if you don't know what it is. Save every, again, that's fine. Just don't touch it.
So that's going to save a
so
version of the LoRa every 250 steps. And then you can
correct,
tell
yeah.
if it's overtrained or not, I guess, by inferring from those, right?
Yep,
Mhm.
pretty much.
Or undertrained,
Or undertrained.
Right, yeah.
And then so like the path of your data, and so in this case,
It's like slash workspace or whatever slash the folder you uploaded it to, or
yeah, so like in here I might like make a new folder and I'll call it data, and then I'll I'll upload all my stuff to here,
Mhm.
and then I'll like copy the path. And one thing to note is you need this / at the beginning.
yeah, because it's the
And
root
so
of
like
the.
so if I paste it, it's not there.
Yeah, you need to add
Right?
it.
I need to add that back. Caption text extension, blah, blah, blah. Dropout rate. Again, everything is very self-explanatory in these comments from Ostris. Multi-res, probably wouldn't touch that. Steps, this is what we were talking about, your diffusion. How many steps are you training the model for?
Right.
Pick your number, dial your settings towards your preferred number. Again, like roughly like for Flux, I would say anything above like 2,000 or above is like your sweet spot. Probably like between 2,000 and 3,000. If you can find something that you like within that range, you're pretty safe.
Okay.
Train the unit, yeah, don't touch that. Don't touch grads. Don't touch batch size. You're probably just gonna CUDA.
That means
Train
you're running
text
out of
encoder.
that means you're running out of VRAM. When people say
Yeah.
or CUDA, they mean you're gonna run out of memory. It just kills the process essentially. You gotta start over.
Yeah, just an error basically. Yeah, flow match, wouldn't touch it. Optimizer, if you know what you're doing, you can play with the optimizers. Learning rate is represented with this. I don't even know what's this called, by the way.
It's like, is it scientific notation? Is that what that is? What's the thing?
I think it is.
I don't know. Math is hard.
Regardless, like I'm
pretty. I never had to learn math. I'm so pretty, you know.
I just changed this to like actual numbers. That works too. Like it does
0.0002. What
Yeah,
so what is this? This is the learning rate? This is the how much it tries to learn in each chunk, sort of?
Exactly. So like I'm just gonna take this and we'll do this. And okay, so that is 40 minus, so it's 3 zeros and a 1, right? And so this is represented as this.
Okay.
And yeah, this is what I was talking about, where every time it runs through the data, this is a training loop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so when it accumulates one loop, it refines the parameters of the tensors or the matrix of numbers, right? Like bunch of numbers in a grid, and like it learns, and then it like shifts all the numbers by this decimal point here, right? And so yeah, you trying to find the sweet spot of like that number, and like it's not just one variable that does this. It's steps, it's batch size,
it's the size of the network, you know.
It's the size of the network. Yeah, there's so many things. So, but at the end of the day, once like your network is set and like, you know, your data is not changing, you have them captioned. The only things you really should be playing with are like learning rate and maybe steps, and don't try to change them around all at once. Try to like incrementally find a sweet spot with one set of variables before you start shifting all of them.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Because then you know if your thing you're doing is actually making a difference or not.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're really just stabbing around in the dark, making wild changes and just hoping.
And then the rest of it,
Dev.
yeah, the rest of it I wouldn't.
So that stuff
really
at the
touch.
bottom there, all the prompts. What is that?
This is
for
our
inference?
validation.
So when it's doing inference
Yeah.
to validate, it's going to run these prompts.
Correct.
Doing
Yeah. So you
sampling.
can add
However,
these.
don't trust the sampling.
Yeah, there's that too.
Yeah, just don't trust it. Always run
That's what
the
it's like
model.
with the motion LoRAs.
Yeah.
Stuff that it spits back during the inference tests is nothing like what it actually does when you go to use it, really.
Always run it. Always run it in your own pipeline. See how it performs. Never trust sampling. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can replace those with some prompts that would like better, more accurately help you get an idea of what's going on. I
Yeah,
guess.
for sure.
Let's upload that data set. So I got the retro iPhones here. They're already zipped. I'm just gonna drop them. Yeah, this is the painful part, and like there's faster ways to do this. Like ideally when you make a virtual computer, like a virtual instance or like rent a graphics card or whatever, it's better to download the data than to upload the data. And so if you can host your data somewhere, whether it's like S3,
yeah, then it can
Google
grab it
Drive,
off the fast internet
the
instead of you
server,
sending it
yeah.
from your slow computer, or rather, it's just bad connection to you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, downloading down is always faster than up, right? And so if you've uploaded it once to Google Drive when it didn't matter and it just did it automatically, then when you're ready to use it, the down is like boom, like right there, ready to go.
Yep.
And so we're not sitting here waiting for this pretty blue bar to fill up. And then my data set was small, you know, like it was 70 megs. If you're uploading like a gigabyte, like you'll be there for a while. And you're
It took
paying
me a
for the
long
card.
time to upload a 5 gig data set. It was like just under 7,000 images. Took me
Wow.
so long.
Dude, you're crazy for even trying that. I would like 7,000 pictures. I'd be like, nah, dude, this is coming straight from Google Drive.
I'll tell you what I did, man. I clicked, dragged it, and then I went and got breakfast. And I came back and it was almost done.
Well, okay. I mean,
whatever
context,
works.
right?
Yeah. If I was just sitting there, no way I'm waiting through that.
Yeah. Okay, so like let's actually set this up. So we'll call this retro iPhone and S trainer, blah blah blah. Let rank, we'll keep the same. Steps, I'm going to do 2500. Batch size 1. Learning rate, I like to go a little bit hotter. Atom 8-bit, I've been getting some decent results, so I'm cool with that. Well, match, maybe we'll just do like cat on it. Wait. You know what? No, so this is, let's actually like do best practices. Let's go find an image from our data set and we'll pull the caption off of it.
And use that caption as the validation, yeah.
Yeah, let's do this one. I really like this picture. It's really pretty. So let's do number 2. So it's a whimsical. Yeah, you know what? This is the better route, and we'll use multiple of these.
You already got them.
Yeah, exactly. And we have reference, right? So this is number 1. Let's see this guy holding this car. That'll be a good one. And then it's just so funny.
I like that one a lot.
That's
it's like it's sort of full size iPhone body scanner.
Yeah, it's like
he's at the airport. Yeah, just get inside, man. So flat.
The future is so compact.
Yeah. So will you be. Get inside.
Yeah, get in. Tim Cook's like voice is lulling you to sleep as you just never wake up.
Well, that reminds me of my favorite Onion article after Steve Jobs passed and Tim Cook took over. It's like, Apple, Tim Cook, CEO, says, I'm thinking printers.
Wow.
Like they're just going to pivot to printers.
Okay, so we need the... Oh,
Dataset.
that's not what I wanted. Ugh, fine.
Oh no, you unzipped it to the wrong place.
I just didn't realize it was not in a folder in this.
Yeah.
Move it to data. Okay. Beautiful. So now we're just gonna right click data, copy path. Oh, it was already set. Look at that.
Perfection.
Look at that.
Save it. Okay, and then the last thing I'm gonna do is in the config, in the examples, I'm just going to copy this and just move it up a directory and then rename it. And so like I'll just call this Flux, all caps, Flux YAML. And so like this is basically like this will now be my YAML that I continue to edit.
Yeah,
as I, like,
template.
train stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're logged in. And so all I need to do to run this is call from
Python train.
our workspace AI directory.
Yeah.
Yeah, Python run.py and then config because that's the folder, and we're gonna call flux.yaml and hit enter and it will train, and that's it.
Fantastic.
And so now it's going to download the models because this is the first time we've done this.
Yeah.
So Ostris has set up all the auto model downloading, and it's like super zippy. Even though it's 20 gigs, it's like, just destroys it. It's so fun to watch, actually.
Cool. What so on this, what is this, a 4090 you rented?
Yeah, this is a single 4090.
So your, what is this, a 25 50 image set?
Yeah, 50 pictures.
What's your guesstimate on how long it'll take to train?
An hour and a half, probably.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I thought it was more like 3 hours. That's cool. So that's for 2,500 steps at 0.0002.
Yep. Yeah, it's
Nice.
the steps that's really limiting the time, and that's
Sure.
kind of like why I dial it to that, is like
Try to get more learning in the time, right?
yeah,
Because
like,
more is always
make the
better,
feedback-
right?
make the feedback loop longer. You know, and if I see like quality degradation, yeah, maybe I'll like play around.
Okay.
But it's usually from here 2,500 steps, adjust the learning rate, play with the captions, and then most importantly, bring it into Comfy, bring it into Auto, wherever, evaluate, play with it.
Yeah.
Make your own assessments. Like, is it flexible? Where is the point in which it is flexible? And then kind of assess, like, you know, it's flexible when it's half the weight, like it's 0.5 on the weight when I'm using the LoRa.
Yeah.
Probably have to like lay off a little bit and get it closer to 1, you know?
And when you're happy, don't get on Civitai and listen to what people say, and then save the training data and bang another one maybe. Or don't listen to what people say.
Yeah, don't do that, dude. That's crazy. Have I taught you nothing, brother?
The text prompt is used for sampling. So when the text prompt is used for sampling and the image comes out very similar to the original, is that an indication of overfitting? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's a good sign that you need to back up a few epochs and take.
It's like when your brand new image model spits out Starbucks logos and stuff. You did something wrong, you know. Or you did something enormously right.
Well, for their investors.
Look at it go.
It's just going through caching latents, doing the things. I have yet to run into an error with this repo.
That's really
it's
cool.
Just that cut and dry, where it's just like it just works. You know,
Just works. Yeah, you just copy and paste the thing from the README and make your
Yeah.
changes to the YAML,
Mhm.
and then Python run.py, navigate to your YAML. That's
the
it.
only thing that threw me for a loop was Ostris on his page says to use a
A
env
.env. Yeah.
env file in the environment directory,
Okay.
and RunPod or like Jupyter wouldn't allow me to create one. And
Right.
so that's why I went through and I manually logged into Hugging Face, which ultimately is the same thing. Like that .env is supposed to have like your Hugging Face information.
Yeah.
It's like I just bypassed the process completely by logging into the terminal manually.
So yeah, even when it checks, it's already logged in. It doesn't care.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, that's smart. Well, that's amazing. Well, hopefully, people are less scared of RunPod now. It's like, yeah,
Hopefully,
it
yeah.
is kind of scary, like on the surface, but once you get into it, it's kind of fine.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, RunPod itself makes it very easy to like deploy, like make Docker image, like not make the Docker image, but like deploy a Docker image.
Mm.
And yeah, you can really get in the weeds there. And so yeah, check it out. We're training, you know, 4
Yeah,
steps
that's
in,
amazing. It's an hour and a half, hour and
and
45. That's fantastic.
yeah, it's pretty great. And like this number fluctuates a lot. It actually never like settles out. It fluctuates like the whole time. But
Is there a
I've
way
like
to tell
averaged
from those numbers on the end there, like when it's cooked
it.
or no?
Like, well, I mean, in theory, yes, but that's usually represented better in the validation images.
Okay.
And Binx and I have not been that impressed with the validation accuracy.
So actually play
Yeah.
with it later and make
You
your
have
try
to,
your
you have to play
conclusions.
with
Yeah, makes sense.
So always just let it cook and then do some testing then. The numbers have like, especially like looking at your graphs on things like WanDB, they have a good indication of how the model is learning the data. But it, again, it's an image model, right? Things that may look like an error on like a pure data side of things might
Yeah.
actually turn into really interesting features in the model itself once you start inferencing with it. So it's like just let it burn, test it, see what's up.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What
Right
in the
on.
heck is going on?
Well, I mean, I think we covered it all
Yeah, we
as
did
much
good.
as we can
Yeah.
anyway.
think
I
we
just
did
want to
really
thank you
good.
guys for dropping all this knowledge on everybody, and hopefully people can slow this down and ingest some of this stuff. It's a lot. It's a lot.
It is a
Yeah,
lot,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I
it's too
appreciate it very
much for a
much.
single video, but
Yeah.
Mhm.
just explore.
Just explore. It's all experimentation. Everyone's learning together.
Mm-hmm.
And if you run into a problem or don't know how to do something, just ask someone. Just go on
Yeah.
Twitter, look at someone who's doing it, because the people on Twitter who are posting about doing it love talking about it. So
Yeah.
you can totally just go and ask a question and they will love to like give you some alpha, give you as much info as possible. If anyone who will like give them some time, they're willing to try to help you out.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Discord's invaluable too.
Mhm.
Yeah. Just reach
Discord
out
communities.
to and just talk to people.
Yeah, 100%.
This has been great. And I know you guys are both on the Discord, so if there's any follow-up questions, people have stuff, just drop them in the help channel. And if it pertains to either of these guys, I'll ask them. Don't ping them, but I'll ask them, to have a look at the thing, if there's something there to talk about. But yeah, guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it very much. Do you guys have anything coming up you want to plug before we dip? Do you have any links, anything you want to talk about? Places, things you're doing, stuff? Patreons, OnlyFans,
Oh.
Yeah, Phil. Hey, yo.
Hey yo.
Get some
Hey,
advertising in there.
I got the whole room to my disposal, baby.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing I'm gonna plug is just my Patreon.
Yeah.
I've been doing a lot of work, open source for the community, building a lot of tooling, and I like the idea of giving back and allowing people to feel like, oh, like this is useful, like this makes my day-to-day better, or my renders faster, or whatever. And if you want to show some support, hit me up on my Patreon. I'm also going to be dumping a lot of my LoRAs there and my models. I'm very sentimental. I think Binx, you probably feel the same about a lot of your stuff sometimes, where, you know, at this point we put in years of knowledge and
Literal years
recycling.
of training on
Yeah.
our models and our data. It's all,
Yeah.
yeah, it's all grown with us. So when we share models, we are sharing like a part of ourselves and our tastes as they've evolved over the last few years.
Yeah. Yeah. And so, yeah, just hit me up on my Patreon. Maybe you can link that somewhere.
Yep, I'll put it in the description below, and
Yeah.
I've got your Twitter links in the description below as well. And
Sweet.
anything else you guys want me to put in the description, just send it to me directly, and I'll throw it in for your socials and all that
Thanks, man.
stuff, obviously. And yeah, as always, thank you for sharing your knowledge with the community, and thanks everybody for hanging out with us and getting real nerdy with it. But yeah, you know, sometimes it's good to get into the nitty gritty of how all this stuff works, because like it sometimes it can feel like magic, you know, if you if you're not
magic.
Yeah, it is magic, but you know, it's nice
It
to pull
feels
back
like
the
it.
curtain every now and then. And yeah, it's great. So yeah, thanks everybody. Hit up my Patreon, hit up my purge.xyz, hit up the Discord, hit up all the things. Make stuff, tag me. I want to see it. Go forth and make cool things. Purge loves you. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks again, Binx and Phil. And we'll do this again. I really enjoy this deep dive of knowledge and stuff. And you know, we have much more to speak about in the future. So thank you guys. Have a good night, everybody. Wave to the people as we vanish.